Hey, LS11 Universe, it's Zander, and we're back! Yeah, I never thought the day would come, but welcome to WWE 2K20 Universe Mode.
Yeah, we're live. Yeah. Hi. I've already got to get up and go let my damn cat go upstairs.
There's a new superstar in the ARW, and his name is John Cena.
The Undisputed Era dripping in gold for Drew. Rollins in the face of McIntyre, telling him you made me do this. Seth Rollins, the AOP, and Buddy Murphy standing tall.
Zander! LS11!
World Heavyweight Champion Zander LS11. Dawn Balor looks him in the eyes, says it's over. Finn Balor is going to WrestleMania. He's done it.
Welcome to a show about anything and everything, but mainly nothing.
Walter down.
No,
One,
two, no,
and new.
right in the eye of it.
Hello, this is Cam Zanzenegger, your...
Hey, LS11 Universe, it's Zander. I'm joined by Ray, and welcome to WrestleMania.
Been a long road. Been a long road, Zander. The day is here. WrestleMania. We are here for the finale of Season 1 of Universe Mode.
Turns Rollins around. Here we go. Fifth and final time. Tombstone pile driver. There's no way he kicks out again. Look at this. Does the motion. Says the title is his. Coup de grace. Your winner. And the new ARW World Heavyweight Champion.
Okay. I have a really good reason.
Oh, I hope you do.
I was almost mugged. Zander, talk about a blue chip stock. This pick is phenomenal.
Then one more. Your winner. And the new. Oh, I guess someone brought it to me. Come in.
Pizza time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginnings and... Hello?
Hi.
Aren't you supposed to be in New Mexico?
Baby, you're a firework. Like the wallpaper sticks to the wall.
Yeah. Shaking my sock, you idiot cunt. Your stuff don't get shot.
This is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow. Don't stop us now. Is this real life? Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Welcome to WrestleMania week. Have a look around.
Come on, Bobby, let's go party. I'm a Barbie girl.
Here we go. Oh my god! Kick to the ribs.
He's
Wait a
looking
minute.
for glorious DDT.
Oh! Oh my god! That's Robert Strong! Here we go! Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Cole is cashing in Money in the Bank.
Zander, it was already a pretty good night for the Undisputed Era. But now it is the Undisputed Era's defining night.
Bomb stacks him up.
One, two.
It's over.
We have a new NXT champion.
Tag Team Championships, the Undisputed Era, and DIY is back. His name is Jinder Mahal. I am now well aware of this. Organo with Ray.
I'm sorry.
Gargano shoves it back. Super kick.
Tommaso is gone. This is the happiest moment of my life. And you saw it. I did it.
Your winner and the new.
You may call me
The Quizmaster. This is my moment. Gargano with the infamous line, one final beat. The American Dragon is LS11 Elite, Brian Danielson.
He's been Zander. I've been Ray.
That was Dynamite. And your new AEW World Champion, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. What? I killed the Undisputed Era.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever enjoyed this show, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. This draft starts. Monday Night Raw selects the phenomenal AJ Styles. The tyranny over SmackDown, your winner, and the first ever two-time world champion in the LS11 Universe, the Kingslayer, Seth freaking Rollins. Grabs the legs. Oh my god. Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter's in again. Center of the ring. Rude is writhing in pain. He's got nowhere to go. No ropes to save. Oh my god. It's over. Rude tapped. Hey, LS11 Universe. It's Zander and welcome to WWE 2K22. Swanton!
Jevin the Swanton, here's the cover.
1, 2, 3!
Jeff Hardy.
One final time. I've been Zander, and that was ARW.
Yes! Adrenaline in my soul says pony in this crowded road.
Darby, coffin drop! Cover!
No. No.
1,
No.
2, 3! Oh my god.
Not getting that out this that easy, you little bitch.
Oh my god, he booted him! Gargano's bleeding! Johnny Wrestling is all elite! And new Impact Wrestling World Champion, Swerve Strickland! I mean, he's got a point. He's beaten everyone there is to beat. What? I'm sorry, what?
Hey, LS11 Universe, it is Ray coming at you for the first time from New Japan Waves. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is LS11 Universe first ever New Japan Pro Wrestling event.
McIntyre's on the top!
McIntyre hangs on, but he's gone!
AJ Styles just went from number 1 to the end. Spear number 3. 1, 2, 3. Your winner and the new Impact World Champion.
Another. Zander, if he hits another, one-winged angel. 1, 2, 3.
The game. Triple H. And what question is that, Ray?
Are you ready to fly? Because he is.
Here we go.
Phenomenal
Agreed. Our winner and new World Heavyweight Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody. Guys, it's the dawn of the 6. Oh, the big trucks is gonna eat the little trucks.
He's got the whole world in his hands.
Run! Hey, LS11 Universe, it's Zander, and welcome to the 3-year anniversary live stream. 11 minutes into the actual stream proper, I have finally made my way here. Thanks to those who stuck around for the 10-minute video package there. I worked really hard on that a couple days ago. Didn't include anything from earlier this week for obvious reasons. Of course, for one night only, I brought back the predictions title to help with the celebration. I think I've got the championship stand for it around here, actually. So might be able to just kind of put it next to me since the championship is currently inactive. Yeah, it can kind of go here for now. That'll work. So good to see so many people already in the chat. Shinobi making me feel, a little, giving me a bit of an existential crisis by saying the Captain Jack Sparrow video was already. Oh, hang on. Oh, wow. I just made my camera more high quality. Oh, there's like a whole extra. There's like a whole extra 240p added on. Anyways, the Captain Jack Sparrow video was already 2 years ago almost. I moved a year ago. That's kind of crazy to think about. So much stuff has happened over the last year, and I just want to thank it, or over the last 3 years, and I want to thank everyone for being here for so long and sticking with me through everything today. I mean, this has been a hell of a day. I mean, we kicked off with LSWF Kickoff. We had Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. I was interviewed for a podcast that I'll be talking about once it's actually aired. And then now we're here on the 3-year anniversary stream. So what do you guys want? So to quote Cody Rhodes, so what do you guys want to talk about? Because I've got some ideas for stuff we can do. Blazewave's giving me an idea when he says, LOL, I haven't seen some of the old IRL stuff. It's great. I've actually got something that's some old IRL stuff that I would kind of like to show to the people who weren't around for it. We can kind of watch some of the highlights of it. Probably not going to watch the full thing, but we will watch some of it. Let's show you guys what I did during COVID when it was just me and my brother at the house all the time. So let's share the LS11 Hardcore Scramble a little bit here. And you can also progressively see me gaining weight over the course of these like 5 months that this happened for. Kind of click through here. This was some of the stuff we did during COVID before Ray even moved in. We used to have a hardcore title in the old series that was like a real life thing. And that is the guy you're seeing with the pink hair there is my now 16-year-old brother, who at the time was only 13, I believe. So he looks very different 3 years later. And the whole walrus thing would become a running joke. Let's see. Let's find some of the highlights here. There's that. Just There people constantly getting flung into pools. Carnold came in and got it. I'm not going to show everything from it. There's just some funny stuff in it. Hardcore Scramble was very fun. Let's see. Oh, this was good. This was good. I got to be careful with this one. I do remember this one actually, I think, got the video copyright claimed. Because Drive That Funky Soul is playing in it. God, it's weird seeing how much things have changed over the last several years. Of course, you know, with the Black Spider-Man mask, you got to do the dance. Oh, right. Broken Zander flying out of the water. That was fun to film. And there was I'd had to shave for a little bit, so all of the Xanders shaved. They shave when I shave. It was really weird. A couple weeks where I just didn't have a beard. Carnold without a beard is the weirdest one, quite honestly. Like, beardless Carnold's just a weird thing to look at. But yeah, guys, fire away some questions if you've got any. I know we talk about stuff a lot on here, but... And the joke kind of became the doctor could never not get pushed into the pool. That Fez kind of got ruined from it. And this was right after we'd moved as well. And so then I hadn't been in any of these either. So we made it look like I'd just been out reading all the time. Oh, and I had no hair on my legs at the time either. I just had to one of the loser challenges when we did punishments. And then the rest of this is pretty much Bradley, my uncle, had it for a long time, and no one could ever beat him for it. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun stuff with the Hardcore Scramble. That's one of the lesser known things of the pandemic era LS11 universe. We had fun. So what did ultimately get the copyright claim on this video? It was Drive the Funky Soul from that. I remember that now. So I figure we'll just kind of look at some stuff, talk about old stuff, you know. Obviously some honorable stuff that didn't make it into that cut for the best of the last 3 years. The Rollins and Murphy feud, I brag about it all the time. Pierre says, what feud would you have liked to do but didn't get the chance to? I've talked about some of the obvious ones. Like I would have loved to do Rollins and Aleister Black at some point. I would have loved to continue the Black and Murphy story, which we're kind of doing in All Elite Wrestling now. But it's not really the same, obviously. Let's see. What are some other good ones? I would have loved to have done the heel Cody in AEW. Cody would have been winning the AEW World title pretty soon in LS11 at Revolution. He would have been winning it from Darby. And so that would have been really fun to do. You know, I would have loved to make Cody world champion in AEW. He was going to turn heel on Dustin after they lost the tag titles. Can I play the full Jack Sparrow song? I think we can work something out. Let me do a quick little edit to this tier list and add a couple of thumbnails in because we've had a couple more shows since this aired. I think that's probably Ray asking me for a stream link. Okay, no, it's not. I thought it was. It was someone else messaging me. Let me edit this tier list here and add in the No Mercy and I think No Mercy and what's it called? Super Card of Honor are the only shows we've had since Payback that are pay-per-views, I think. I'm not counting LSWF, obviously. So everyone give me just 1 second to grab these. No Mercy, Control-C, Control-V, haha, and Super Card of Honor. So what would Kenny have been doing now if Cody had stuck around? That's a great question. And really, I don't have much of an answer because I don't remember, oddly enough. Like, I know I remember a lot of the stuff that was going to happen in LS11, but there's a lot that I just don't remember, weirdly enough. And let's see if I can go into presentation mode here. I'm going to do a thing. I know Adam asked me to do this a lot way back in the day, so we're actually going to screen share the tier maker, and we are going to do a tier list of all of the pay-per-view events from LS11. The only things not included here are the New Japan shows, because Ray is not here to organize those with me, and I don't want to rank his stuff without him. But yeah, what would Kenny have been doing now? It's a really good question. I remember now. At one point in time, before the All Atlantic title even existed, Ray kept trying to push for us to add a third championship to AEW that would be like his thing to book, and Kenny was going to kind of be the focal point of that. And I kept telling him, I'm not adding a third title to Dynamite, Ray, and he was always like, well, Zander, I'm putting my foot down on this, we're doing it. And I was like, why are we going to add a third title when I'm the one that has to record the show? And I can tell you that the titles we have are already too much. And ultimately, the All Atlantic title came, and so we agreed to do Rampage, and that's where we went with it. But, that's just kind of how things went. So, so Kenny would have been kind of heading up what now would be the All Atlantic title if Cody hadn't left. But yeah, so let's look at the tier list here. We got nothing's really in order, it would seem. I could rearrange it to be in order if I wanted to, but we've got Universal Championship. Oh right, I forgot. For a long time, just the main event with the logo in front of it was the thumbnail. Pretty much all the way up until, well, probably until about SummerSlam Season 2. It was always just kind of the main event usually on there, and then SummerSlam Season 2 changed that. So give me just a second. I am going to put this stuff in order because I'm a bit fickle about that, quite honestly. And it'll make it easier to kind of see how things grew over the last few years if I do it this way. WrestleMania, and then TakeOver Phoenix was there. TakeOver Brooklyn was there. TakeOver Philly was kind of there-ish. Chicago was there. And then finally, New York. Where is TakeOver New York? TakeOver New York. I'm looking for it. It's the Triple Threat, Walter, AJ, and done. There it is. Okay, so there was that. Honestly, the Black Matthews story feels on hold, oddly even without the addition of Brody. Yeah, so it was supposed to go on hold, and it did, with Buddy Matthews losing at Double or Nothing. There was a point to that. He lost in like 6 minutes, and there was a reason for him losing that quickly. And I forgot TLC actually goes there. And so let's find the Season 2 stuff real quick. Season 2 had Ciampa and McIntyre, and then their rematch was the following month, Money in the Bank, No Mercy, and Battleground, because I picked to do underwhelming pay-per-view names for a minute. TakeOver New Orleans actually happened in that time as well, so that goes there. I know this probably, watching me organize this isn't the most, not the most engaging of content, but also, like I said, it helps me a lot more to have it laid out like this, so I can kind of rank it based on what happened in order. And so this happened, and then we did TakeOver London, which pretty much actually kind of segued us into Survivor Series, which still has one of the best thumbnails as well, in my opinion. But yeah, things with, notice Brody King and Buddy Matthews are both in the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and there is a reason for that. So it will make sense very, very soon. I promise that much. Messiah Rollins, what a time period. Yeah, Messiah Rollins. I want to move the microphone a little closer to myself here as well. Messiah Rollins was a great time on the channel. It was I wouldn't say the most over he's ever been on the channel, but it could be argued that it might have been his most over period on the channel. There's Survivor Series. It was right in front of me. The snake, it would have bit me. TLC goes there, and then we had TakeOver Portland, which I know Ray really, really likes this one. I really like this one as well. Royal Rumble into Elimination Chamber, which was where I started making really good chamber thumbnails, I think. TakeOver 10 into Mania, into Backlash. And then did Revolution come before did Revolution come before the next pay-per-view? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Vengeance. It was Vengeance and then Revolution. So Vengeance and then Revolution is here. And then we went into Money in the Bank. We went into SummerSlam. Oddly enough, I think All Out was right before SummerSlam. No, All Out was right after SummerSlam. Yeah. No, All Out was first. All Out was first. We weirdly made it a little too close together, but that was my own call there. We also had 2 more takeovers with The End and Cleveland. And the End, or Cleveland was there, and The End was here. Sounds right. Yeah, because we had 2 double premiere weekends. Bound for Glory came right before Bad Blood. I remember that. And then Full Gear. And then we went into One Final Beat. We had Cyber Sunday. And then we had No Surrender. Actually, No Surrender was before Cyber Sunday. Forgot about Extreme Rules, actually. Extreme Rules. Oh, that's right. All Out came after Extreme Rules. That's right. That's why it felt like less of a gap. Then we had Royal Rumble. Then we had Elimination Chamber. We had Slammiversary, Double or Nothing, WrestleMania, Payback, No Mercy, Supercard. Okay, there we go. Now we've got everything in order, so it's going to be a little easier for me to organize stuff. Zach, I am glad you liked Ring of Honor. I have no idea who's going to win that Face the Revolution ladder match. Neither did we until recently. So there's a reason I didn't even make Who's the Joker a bonus answer, and there are 2 reasons why. Let me see if I can make myself bigger for a minute. Yeah, I can make myself bigger for a minute. I should have been doing this while I was organizing it. But, I think I like this. I don't know. Yeah, I like this more. But yeah, no. I took away the bonus fill in the blank for Who's the Joker for 2 reasons. 1, nobody's getting it. Nobody's going to guess it. And 2, I'm tired of seeing your mom, IDK, and people that are already on the roster that are like, that it's like, oh, who's going to be this mystery entrant? Penta's going to return. Penta was on Dynamite 2 days ago. It's going to be Penta. He's going to return. So anyway, let's get into the tier list here. So we got the rankings of best show ever, pretty good, middle of the road, not very memorable, and flop. And if you guys disagree with any of these, you can let me know. There are a couple things that I think are flops that are just, my opinion. The first Backlash, the first Backlash had Rollins and Andrade. And you know what? I've got a kind of fun idea real quick here. Let's see if it's going to kick me into, if it's going to mess with my screen sharing at all to do this. Okay, I'm glad it didn't, because that could have been really, really bad. Let's pull up the match card here for the first, not No Mercy, for the first Backlash. So we had the very first LS11 Backlash. Was our first ever pay-per-view. Episode 13 had the pre-show match of Baron Corbin versus Mustafa Ali, and the main show saw Zelina Vega versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title, Heavy Machinery versus The Revival for the SmackDown tag titles, John Morrison versus AJ Styles for the US title, Sonya Deville versus Bayley, the Hugger Bayley, for the SmackDown Women's title, Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara versus the Viking Raiders for the Raw Tag Team titles. Tommaso Ciampa would begin his record-setting and historic IC title reign by beating Shinsuke Nakamura for the IC title. Chad Gable challenged Brock Lesnar for the WWE title, and Andrade challenged Seth Rollins in the main event for the WWE Universal title. So ultimately, there's a lot of matches on there where it's like, what? Like Heavy Machinery versus The Revival, Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara versus the Viking Raiders, Zelina versus Becky. I'm just going to say it's a not very memorable show because it had the big Styles and Morrison match, which really won a lot, which was a match that brought a lot of eyes to the channel, oddly enough, especially their rematch the next night on Raw. And then the main event was good and the IC title stuff. If Ciampa hadn't won the IC title on that show, it probably would have been a flop. Takeover Phoenix, I don't think there's a reason there's a black bar over here. I'm on a 2-second audio delay for the whole show. So it's like 1, 2, 3. And I'm just out of sync with everything in the game the whole time. It's just really tedious. And I know it's not a lot of people's favorite. And the main event just has aged really poorly. So we're just going to kind of gloss over that. Super Showdown. I don't remember the match card on that one, so that's another one I'm going to pull up. Super Showdown was meant to be an Australia show, but because WWE had started doing it in Saudi, it became an issue. So the match card on this show for the Intercontinental title, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Tommaso Ciampa. For the Raw Women's title, Kairi Sane versus Becky Lynch. For the Universal title, Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins. For the SmackDown tag titles, Beer Money versus The Revival. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman, which saw the debut of The Fiend during the match to attack Roman. SmackDown Women's title saw Lacey Evans versus Sonya Deville. Because we were in Australia, the U.S. title match was Buddy Murphy versus John Morrison, and the main event was Mustafa Ali versus Brock Lesnar. Now, that's a pretty good match card. It was a pretty good show when it came to, like, matches, but because people mistook it for thinking it was in Saudi, it got a lot of hate, and I think that, you know, it's not the most memorable show either, so I think, I'm not going to say it was a flop, because looking back, pretty good card, but I'm going to say bottom of not very memorable, teetering onto flop. We go into the first LS11 Money in the Bank show, and that one was quite the show, I remember. So, Money in the Bank. Years ago was the first Money in the Bank. I remember recording it. It's got a copyright claim on it. What's that one from? Oh, Lacey Evans' theme and Rusev. His theme got us copyrighted. So the match card at the first Money in the Bank was a banger 20-minute match between Tommaso Ciampa and Chad Gable. Bobby Lashley challenged John Morrison for the U.S. title. Roman Reigns versus The Fiend. Sonya Deville challenging Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title. The Money in the Bank ladder match, which featured Kevin Owens, Ricochet, Andrade, Buddy Murphy, Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali, Shinsuke Nakamura, and the debuting Apollo Crews, who was attacked and replaced by the debuting EC3. Rusev versus Seth Rollins for the Universal title, and a main event of Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar in a ladder match for the WWE title. And you know what? The EC3 stuff aged poorly, but this was the first pay-per-view on 2K19 with mods. Ciampa and Gable was a killer match. Every match on that show was pretty good. That's a middle of the road, maybe even bottom of pretty good. And The Fiend, of course, debuting and absolutely crushing Roman Reigns was good. So I'll do some reorganizing later. This might go at the bottom of pretty good. You know, it's going at the bottom of pretty good. Takeover New York. Now, Takeover Brooklyn. Takeover Brooklyn, I don't remember that well. So I'm going to look up Brooklyn. And let's see. So the first LS11 Takeover Brooklyn. Pete Dunne versus Keith Lee in a #1 contenders match to the NXT title. Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's title. Imperium versus the Undisputed Era for the tag titles. Alexander Wolf versus Roderick Strong for the North American title. Johnny Gargano versus Mike Kanellis for the Cruiserweight title. And Matt Riddle versus Walter versus Adam Cole for the NXT title. Which also tells me that I had these two takeovers flipped around, so that's my bad. So that was a pretty good show. You know, going over the results, Keith Lee, that was the last time we'd see him until the Royal Rumble. But that also set in motion Pete Dunne's run to the title. Undisputed Era beating Imperium was a good choice. NXT North American Champion Alexander Wolf was certainly a choice, but that was one of those where I kind of pushed it onto Ray like as an idea, and he just kind of went with it and rolled with it because the whole idea was that show was supposed to be faction warfare between Imperium and that's where that went. Imperium and the Undisputed Era. And thank you for finding Yoshi for me.
You're welcome. My sweaters.
Anyways, the faction warfare was a lot of fun, and the main event was pretty good, and Riddle was kind of just there to take the pin. So I think that's a middle-of-the-road takeover. And, of course, it was also where Rhea Ripley began her run of dominance, now that I think about it. And we've seen how that's gone for her. She's been one of the top stars in LS11. Recently just hitting 70 victories, which is pretty cool. So our first SummerSlam. So I'm really glad I'm doing this live stream tonight because it means I can actually talk a lot more about this than I used to be able to. So our first SummerSlam was a long time ago. I recorded this the night of WrestleMania 2020. And the match card was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn, with the loser leaving SmackDown. Edge and Christian versus the Revival for the SmackDown tag titles. That was kind of our first, oh crap, somebody's been released kind of matchup. Andrade versus Kevin Owens in a number one contenders match. EC3 versus Roman Reigns in a no-holds-barred match. Buddy Murphy versus the debuting Aleister Black. The OC versus the War Raiders for the Raw Tag Team titles. Kofi Kingston versus Tommaso Ciampa for the Intercontinental title. This is where Ciampa would debut the new version of the title. Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the Universal title. Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. And the main event was Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE title, where EC3 would cash in. And that finish is so overbooked that, honestly, I want to show you guys the end of that show just so you can all see just how overbooked it was. So here, let's see if I can find the end of the show real quick. So Lesnar and Bryan ends with 5 minutes left in the show. So let's turn this down to avoid any copyright issues. So Daniel Bryan pins Brock Lesnar in the main event. He's celebrating with the title, and then because I know a lot of people haven't seen this. There's 1,377 views on this, but that's it. Compared to our normal stuff, that's not much anymore. Oh, the teleportation glitch. Zach, we'll have to watch that. We'll have to watch that clip at some point today. And you think, oh, the Fiend's coming after the champion. But then no. Now, one thing I do miss about 2K19 is that you could get face-to-face with someone and you guys wouldn't start dancing like this. That's one thing I do miss about the old game. So you think, oh, well, the Fiend's choking out Brock Lesnar. What an end to the show. Oh, wow. How crazy. The Fiend is here. But oh, no. We weren't done. We were not done here. Then suddenly just EC3 decides, oh, well, these monsters are trying to kill each other. I'm going to run down and attack the short bearded guy and try and win this title. Oh, man. And I kind of wonder, you know, knowing what we know now, maybe EC3 heard about how Daniel Bryan wants to protect the planet and decided that didn't work for him, so he went after him. So I also don't like the old cash-in where most of the time you start on 0% of the way to a finisher. I prefer when you started with a finisher when you were the person cashing in. So, like, EC3 takes down Daniel Bryan 2-3, and EC3 ends the show as WWE champion. So, overall, it's a good show. I mean, you've got the beginning of Drew's reign. You've got the Fiend and Lesnar setting up their stuff, which, you know, was kind of underwhelming, if I'm honest. Gotta control your narrative, bro. Zander, I'm pretty sure you can turn the fighting stance off. Go face-to-face normally by pressing left stick in. We're trying that on stream today. We're trying that on freaking stream because I need to know. So I'm going to say SummerSlam. Let me look back at the card real quick. So Nakamura would beat Sammy. That would send him to Raw. Edge and Christian would beat the Revival and send them packing for over a year. We wouldn't see them until season 3. Andrade would lose to Kevin Owens, would become number one contender to the Universal title. EC3 beat Roman with help from Braun Strowman. Man, the EC3 Braun Strowman Drake Maverick faction was actually going to be so fun. I was ready for that one. Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black was a great match. The OC beat the War Raiders, become tag team champions. They were going to hold the titles till Mania. Kofi Kingston and Ciampa put on a hell of a match, and Ciampa debuted the new title. Shayna would start her reign of dominance against Becky. Drew would start his reign of dominance against Seth. And then the main event. And you know what? If we're just going based on the show and not based on like what happened immediately after, I think SummerSlam's a pretty good show. So up next, we go into Clash of Champions, the very first one. And our very first Clash of Champions, it was Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title. Black would start his amazing run there. Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title. And that match was fine. Nothing big came out of that one. Beer Money versus Edge and Christian for the tag titles, which is insane that we did that. Grand Metalik versus Tommaso Ciampa for the IC title. This is when I thought I could push Grand Metalik and people would get behind it. They did not. Authors of Pain versus Gallows and Anderson for the Raw tag titles, which, I mean, that's one of those moments where it's like, that was one of the first of two, oh shit, they got released moments of the night where we had to panic put the titles on someone. But I think AOP getting the titles worked out a lot better in the end than if Gallows and Anderson had them. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler in the rematch for the women's title. Shayna would ultimately win. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns versus EC3 for the WWE title, which Roman would cheat to win with help of the Usos. We started the Tribal Chief story long before WWE, so, you know.
Now, I'm not saying you owe me royalties for this clearly incredibly amazing idea that I came up with and you stole from me. I'm just saying maybe there should be a check in the mail first of every month. Yeah, I guess that's royalties. I guess that's what I'm asking for.
So I'm just saying. Brock Lesnar versus The Fiend, which was a fun match. And Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre in the main event, which we did just cover this in the opening package. But for those that don't remember what the end of that match saw, arguably one of the most important moments in LS11 history would happen at the end of that matchup with the debut of the Monday Night Messiah. Seth Rollins beginning the official faction, which I quite honestly will stand by and say we did a better job of than WWE did. So yeah, the birth of the Messiah, Seth blaming Drew and saying, you made me do this. Overall, very top, pretty good. You know what? Looking back on season 1, a lot of stuff's a lot better than what I thought it was. And I will happily stand by that. Hell in a Cell. That's the only time we did Hell in a Cell in LS11 Universe. The match card was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Tommaso Ciampa for the Intercontinental title. Sami Zayn and Aleister Black for the U.S. title. Hell of a match there. Rollins and McIntyre in the cell for the title, which didn't even main event, but it should have. Drew would win there. Viking Raiders challenging AOP in just a big boy match for the Raw tag titles. Sasha Banks versus Lacey Evans on a SmackDown Women's title. Cry about it. Jeff Hardy versus Roman Reigns for the WWE title. I forgot we did that feud, but that was a great feud, honestly. I loved the Hardy and Reigns stuff. And then it was main evented by Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. And that matchup was so underwhelming. Like the Fiend to Daniel Bryan matchup was 7 minutes, counting entrances. I think it was like 4 after entrances. It was a complete squash. So I'm not going to say it was a flop of a show, but I'm going to put it kind of middle of not very memorable. So we go on to TakeOver Chicago next. And Ray obviously isn't here to talk about takeovers. And I know he wants to do his own thing about takeovers at some point. So what the match card on TakeOver Chicago was Tyler Breeze versus Ricochet, which was Tyler Breeze's TakeOver debut. And I believe Ricochet ended up winning this one. Austin Aries versus Johnny Gargano for the Cruiserweight title. Let's just gloss over that one. Johnny Gargano won. Mustache Mountain versus the Undisputed Era for the NXT tag titles. Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT women's title. Matt Riddle versus Valter for the UK title. Kyle O'Reilly versus Alexander Wolf for the North American title. And main evented by Pete Dunne versus Adam Cole for the NXT title. So the only title changes on the show were Kyle O'Reilly winning the North American title, and I believe that was it. So I think that was just kind of another one of those middle of the road takeovers. I think things really start clicking in season 3 for NXT, or season 2, for NXT. So we go on to Survivor Series next. And Zach, I know this show probably means a lot to you because I know this was your first show after coming back to watching me after I'd stopped Universe for a few years. So the first LS11 Survivor Series. It was one of the biggest shows of the year. It was the first main roster pay-per-view Ray and I did together. And the match card was Jeff Hardy versus Roman Reigns inside a steel cage. Asuka versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's title. Mustafa Ali versus Tommaso Ciampa for the Intercontinental title. The Usos versus Edge and Christian for the SmackDown tag titles. A mystery match ended up being Baron Corbin getting destroyed by Brock Lesnar. Nikki Cross challenging Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title, which is where Nikki would become champion. And the main event was a 40-minute match between Team Rollins and Team McIntyre. And quite honestly, you know what? That's a very concise match card, a near 2-hour show with about 8 matches. I think that was that even 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches, and one of them being a squash. You know what? Honestly, I think it's one of our best. That's probably the best show of season 1. Looking back at it, best non-Mania show anyway. Survivor Series season 1, good show. You know what? Putting that up there, one of the best shows we've done. I don't want any more just because of how many we've done. I don't want any more than 10 shows going in the top tier. I think Survivor Series has earned a spot there, looking back at it. That show's also where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn teamed up for the first time, or was supposed to be, and it's where we started pushing AJ Styles into the main event. So let's see. TLC Season 1. This is an important show. You had Edge versus Ciampa in a TLC match for the IC title. We had Street Profits versus AOP in a tables match for the tag titles. Charlotte versus Lacey in a chairs match for the women's title. New Day and the Usos in a ladder match. Rollins and McIntyre in a TLC match. Andrade and Aleister Black in a U.S. title match. And the main event of The Fiend versus Roman for the WWE title. You know, it's a good show. That's another good show. That was our first premiered pay-per-view once we started building a fan base. First time that we had like all of you guys in the chat. There weren't many people there. Unfortunately, the live chat's not available anymore to do some copyright stuff and me having to do some. Once you have to edit a video on YouTube, if it premiered, the live chat goes away. And that's so sad because there are so many shows that we are missing live chat on now because of that. And it makes me so upset. Like recently, WrestleMania Season 2 got a copyright claim. And I can't bring myself to remove it, to do what needs to be done to remove the copyright claim. Because I don't want to lose that chat. So TLC, I'm going to say it's a pretty good show. I think the Andrade and Aleister Black match really carries that show. And, you know, I don't look back very fondly on Fiend's WWE title reign personally. So up next is TakeOver Philadelphia, which was the first time, one of the first times Walter was ever beaten singles action. That show had Insanity Incarnate, which was Brian Kendrick and Killian Dane versus the Undisputed Era for the tag titles. Io Shirai, Toni Storm, Candice LeRae, and Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's title. Pete Dunne and Cesaro in one of the best matches we'd ever done on a takeover for the UK title. Dijakovic versus Kyle O'Reilly for the North American title, which Dijak won. Ricochet began his record-setting cruiserweight title reign against Gargano. And the main event was a pretty banging match between Walter and Adam Cole. And to this day is the only one-on-one match they've had in LS11. So I'm going to say probably pretty good takeover. I think I liked it better than TLC. I think I liked it better than Money in the Bank as well. Now we go on to Royal Rumble Season 1. And this show, I remember it so fondly because you never forget your first Rumble. I know it sounds really weird to say, but you don't. And there's a lot of Royal Rumble videos on this channel, oddly enough. But Royal Rumble Season 1, here was the card. Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre for the Universal title. Apollo Crews and Aleister Black for the U.S. title. The Women's Royal Rumble, which was won by a debuting Ronda Rousey. Mankind and The Fiend in a hardcore title and a hardcore match for the WWE title. The Miz and John Morrison beat the Usos to become tag team champions. And then the Men's Rumble, which was won by a debuting Finn Balor. I'm definitely not going to say it's the best Rumble we've ever done. It's probably out of the three my least favorite of the Rumbles. But pretty middle of the road Rumble all about. You know, I think the Rumble itself was fun. I think both of them were really fun. And we'll just move on from there into the Elimination Chamber from Season 1. A match that Ray really wants to no longer have a pay-per-view themed around, although it's one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, so I'm not getting rid of it. That show featured John Cena, Buddy Murphy, Kevin Owens, Apollo Crews, Seth Rollins, and Samoa Joe in a number one contenders match to the Universal title. Cena would win that one, LOL. Randy Orton and Aleister Black in an amazing U.S. title match. Sheamus and Keith Lee, which would set up Keith Lee's not WWE title, but matchup with Brock Lesnar. Sami Zayn against the AOP in a 2-on-1 handicap, which led to Kevin Owens saving him. Mickie James versus Ronda Rousey in Ronda's first match. Edge versus Finn Balor. AJ versus Drew for the Universal title. And the main event of Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Jeff Hardy, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and The Fiend in the chamber for the WWE title. And that was ultimately The Fiend's chamber to win. I think he swept everyone except Ciampa. That was the first time Ciampa was ever beat in LS11 Universe. And he was pinned by Roman Reigns inside of the chamber. And I'm still a little annoyed by that fact, because Fiend was supposed to sweep everybody. So ultimately, let's say that a lot of the matches on that show were pretty good. So ultimately, it becomes a pretty good show. TakeOver New York. Now, I already know this is one of Ray's favorite takeovers, because it was where TakeOver really kicked into another gear. You had Imperium, Mustache Mountain, and the Undisputed Era in a 6-man in a 3-way ladder match. Imperium would shock everyone by winning that when everyone thought it was either the UE or Mustache Mountain's match. You had a fatal 4-way matchup for the UK and North American titles with Alexander Wolf, Roderick Strong, Cesaro, and Dominic Dijakovic. Dijak would win that one, and Karrion Kross would debut. You had the debut of Kushida, who would beat Tyler Breeze. You had Candice LeRae start her reign against Rhea Ripley. One of the only times Rhea had ever been... In fact, that was Rhea's first ever loss in LS11 Universe, was when Candice LeRae pinned her at TakeOver 10, or TakeOver New York. And I remember so many people were shocked by that. And people were calling it an upset. People were saying they couldn't believe it. And Candice LeRae's reign would start there. And I think that was a great show. Will Ospreay and Ricochet, the most unrealistic matchup we'd ever done at the time. Specifically just Will coming to WWE. And that was a fun cruiserweight title match. And the main event was that big triple threat of Dunn, Valter, and Cole, where Pete Dunne's NXT title reign started. And I think because of that, I think Ray would agree with me if he was here. I think that's the best takeover that we've talked about so far. And that leads us into the first WrestleMania. Our most viewed video ever, still our most viewed video ever, WrestleMania Season 1, which was a 12 match, but it was a huge show. It featured Buddy Murphy beating Aleister Black to become U.S. champion, AJ Styles beating Edge in the Raw vs. SmackDown match, Sonya Deville retaining her SmackDown Women's title against Nikki Cross, Lacey Evans, and Alexa Bliss, Daniel Bryan beating Roman Reigns, Johnny Gargano beating Tommaso Ciampa for the Intercontinental title in a street fight, Keith Lee beating Brock Lesnar, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens beating the AOP for the Raw Tag Team titles, Ronda Rousey ending Shayna Baszler's huge run for the Raw Women's title, Beer Money, Shock winning a ladder match against New Day, Heavy Machinery, and Miz and Morrison for the SmackDown tag titles, John Cena coming up short, and Drew McIntyre cementing himself as the face of LS11 for the Universal title. Best match of the show with Seth Rollins and Undertaker. Best video package of the show as well. And then the main event where Finn Balor became the only person to ever beat The Fiend and sent The Fiend away in LS11 Universe. I mean, that doesn't sound like the best show we've done out of all of the ones we've listed so far. I don't even know what to tell you. So there are your Season 1 rankings. Anyone have any big disagreements with me? We're going to move into Season 2 now. And I did not expect to take this long just going on about this, but there's a lot to talk about with each of these. Hey, Carol, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. It's been a minute. How are you? Just a little's fine.
Sauce or no sauce?
What is it? Anyway, I wasn't thinking. Huh?
Tortellini.
No sauce.
No sauce.
No sauce. Anyways, so we're going to move into Season 2 now, and we're going to do that with Backlash Season 2, which, I mean, just from the thumbnail alone, a lot of people know how that kicked off. Nope, we've never seen The Fiend again since Finn Balor beat him. So Backlash Season 2 is a very important show in LS11. You had, starting off strong, Carver, you had Lars Sullivan versus Finn Balor for the WWE title. That aged well. You had Cesaro and Johnny Gargano in a great match for the Intercontinental title. You had Becky Lynch beat Sonya Deville to become SmackDown Women's Champion. Adam Cole would make his main roster debut. Beating Daniel Bryan. The Hurt Business would beat the New Day in a #1 contenders match. Keith Lee would beat Buddy Murphy to become the U.S. champion. Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and Beth Phoenix would face off in a triple threat #1 contenders match, where Beth would get the win and go on to fight Ronda Rousey. GYV would have their first match against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, where Zayn and Owens would become #1 contender, would retain the WWE Raw Tag Team titles. And in the main event, Tommaso Ciampa would begin his huge, historic World Heavyweight title run. That's a pretty good show, but the opening match featuring Lars Sullivan as Finn Balor's first challenger drags it down to a middle-of-the-road show. Yeah. I'm going to say middle-of-the-road show, just above Royal Rumble. Ciampa becoming world champion and Keith Lee becoming U.S. champion, two of the big important title reigns of that season, really elevate that show a lot. Take over New Orleans. This show was the first and only ever takeover booked by me, actually. I booked this takeover because Ray was having a really rough time, and I booked it. I booked this whole show. For better or for worse. We're about to put myself on blast here. You had Dolph Ziggler versus Damian Priest, which Damian Priest would win. You had Ricochet beating Kushida to retain the Cruiserweight title. You had Candice LeRae beat Tegan Nox to retain the NXT Women's title, which to this day is still, thank you, love, to this day is still one of Tegan/Nixon's only 3 losses in LS11. I'm good. Still to this day, one of Tegan's only 3 losses in the LS11 universe. You'd Karrion Kross crush Dominic Dijakovic to become North American champion. And the main events of AJ Styles versus Pete Dunne for the NXT title. Everyone thought AJ was just going to walk in and become NXT champion, but we kind of swerved everyone by having Pete Dunne retain on that one and beat AJ clean in the middle of the ring. And that got us some backlash from a lot of people because a lot of people thought we were burying AJ by putting him in NXT. Oh, and there was also a tag team gauntlet, but I don't want to talk about that one quite on. I just don't want to talk about that because Ray hates that matchup and is pretty sure still holds a slight grudge against me for that matchup. So, not the worst takeover we've ever done. That right is reserved for Takeover Phoenix. Thanks, Patrick. But I'm going to say it's not very memorable. It's more memorable than Super Showdown, but less memorable than Hell in a Cell. I've also got my dinner now, so I'm going to eat and do this because my hands are starting to tingle a little bit, which tells me I need to start eating. So let's move on to Money in the Bank Season 2. This show I also remember very fondly because I was wrapping Christmas presents while this show aired. Random thing I remember. And this show would feature the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which was won by Bayley. Which one thing I specifically remember about this matchup, I'm going to pull it up real quick. And I was complimented on this by JJ, my buddy JJ, Jobber JJ, as some might know him. And I'll pull up the live chat so you can see it as well real quick. I don't know why I just pulled up my notifications right in front of people. I don't normally do that. But look at this lineup here. Asuka, Bayley, Bianca, Rhea, Sasha, Shayna, Sonya, Alexa. Any of these 8 could have won this matchup, and I think that adds a lot to it. I think the fact it could have gone any way adds a lot to it. Bayley winning, you know what? That was a Ray choice. Ray kind of pushed that one. I was like, hey, you should have Bayley win it. And I was like, all right, let's go with it. I think looking back at that lineup, if I was going to go with any of them nowadays, like just looking at this lineup again, going back to season 2, if you told me the winner of this matchup is going to cash in on Rhea after she beats Ronda Rousey, I'd have said we'd go with Alexa Bliss. But that's fine. You know, Bayley was another good choice. People didn't like it when she won, which was the point. Hurt Business would beat Veer Money to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Cesaro beat Gargano to become Intercontinental Champion. There was the GM rules match between Finn Balor and Damian Sandow, which was just really fun. Andrade would challenge Keith Lee in what turned out to be Andrade's final WWE match in LS11. Ciampa would beat McIntyre in their rematch. Rousey would beat Beth Phoenix in her first title defense. And then the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, as you can as you can see, was Adam Cole, Buddy Murphy, Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, John Morrison, Samoa Joe, and Apollo Crews. This one wasn't like the women's where anyone could win it. This one was. Let's see if the timestamps are here. They are. Wow, good job, me. So looking at this lineup here, I think a lot of people expected either Adam Cole or Seth Rollins to win it. I think this was before we started doing Masters of the LS11 Universe. So I think there were a few people who, might have predicted that Murphy was going to win it and then Seth was going to take the case from him. But we ultimately decided that Adam Cole made the most sense. I don't think anyone thought Daniel Bryan was going to win. I think some people could have believed it if Lashley won. I don't think anyone would have believed Morrison. He was just in it because it's a ladder match. Samoa Joe, maybe. And then Apollo Crews was not happening. Really, 3 people could have won the Money in the Bank match for the men. Yeah, pretty much. Seth, Murphy, and Cole were the only 3. Overall, though, pretty good show. I'm going to put it, just because we've got a lot to go through, put it top and middle of the road. It's a pretty average show. Now we're going to go to a show that I've got these backwards. Hang on. We're going to go to a show that I look back on and I'm not a huge fan of. No Mercy. The first No Mercy we did. We did No Mercy again this season to redeem this one. No Mercy Season 2 featured Johnny Gargano versus Cesaro for the Intercontinental title in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This would be where Shinsuke Nakamura would re-debut. The Usos versus GYV versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the Raw Tag Team titles. GYV would get the win and win the titles here. Shane Thorne versus Keith Lee for the U.S. title. Shane Thorne would get absolutely demolished. This was right after Shane had become Rollins' new disciple. Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's title, which would never really even start. Shayna attacked Becky before the bell and ended the match on a countout. Drew Gulak and Tony Nese versus the Hurt Business's Cedric Alexander and Noam Dar for the SmackDown tag titles. Just, James Storm and Bobby Roode in a loser leaves SmackDown match. Asuka versus Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair in a number one contenders match. Bianca ended up winning that one. Daniel Bryan and Tommaso Ciampa for the world title. A lot of people thought Bryan was going to win there, surprisingly. Adam Cole versus Drew McIntyre, which is where cult leader Bray returned. And the main event was an overbooked Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor match where Rollins kept trying to cheat. Finn kept having the match won, only for the Disciples to interfere. And ultimately, Murphy would make his return and save the day, and Finn would win. And then Murphy would beat the hell out of Rollins and curb stomp Seth on a chair. Oddly enough, not the last time Buddy Murphy would do the curb stomp in LS11 Universe. I don't want to say the show was a flop, but the show was kind of a flop. The arena was bad. The show wasn't great. None of the matches are memorable. GYV win the tag titles on the show, and I don't think anyone remembers them at this point in LS11. And then there's Battleground, which I've got some other bad memories of this show. It's not a bad show by any means, but I don't like Battleground as a pay-per-view. It aired on Valentine's Day, which got me in a little bit of hot water because I poorly scheduled that, and I own that. The opening match was Murphy against the Disciples in a gauntlet, where if Murphy won, he would get a shot at Rollins as soon as Rollins returned. Murphy would win, and then Seth would immediately jump him and say, "I'm back." Curb stomp, 1, 2, 3. And then Murphy had to fight his way to another match with Rollins for SummerSlam. Bianca Belair and Ronda Rousey. You'll notice something about this show. There was something after every match. There was a run-in of some kind after every match. Seth ran in on the first match. After Bianca Belair beat Ronda Rousey, Rhea Ripley booted Ronda Rousey in the face. I just caught a fruit fly in my fingers. I am ridiculously good at this. And then Rhea Ripley would boot Ronda Rousey and boot Bayley before she could cash in. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would lose their rematch to GYV, which was where Kevin Owens would turn on Sami Zayn. Johnny Gargano, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro in a triple threat for the IC title. Nakamura would get the win here, and that was the only match without any interference of some kind. Finn Balor would beat Bobby Roode on a roll-up for the WWE title to retain it. Shayna Baszler would jump Becky Lynch before the bell and then become SmackDown Women's Champion. I'm going to count that one. Matt Riddle and Keith Lee had a match for the U.S. title where afterwards Brock Lesnar returned and laid out Riddle with an F5. Drew McIntyre would lose to Bray Wyatt when the new Wyatt family of Wolfgang and Killian Dane, not a big fan of that pairing, showed up and cost Drew. And the main event was Edge versus Morrison versus Ciampa in a triple threat for the World Heavyweight title. It should have just been Edge versus Ciampa, honestly. Should have just made it Edge versus Ciampa. It was originally Ciampa versus Morrison, and then I added Edge in. Honestly, should have just been Edge versus Ciampa, and I think more people would have bought the matchup. Not a flop, but not very memorable. TakeOver Brooklyn 2. This one I remember really well. And I remember this one so well because so many people were dead set that AJ Styles was going to be inserted into that matchup between Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Dane and Loomis could have worked. I pitched Loomis and Ray said no. He won't work. I pitched Loomis. I pitched a brainwashed Elias. I pitched so many people, and ultimately I think Ray was just like, use Wolfgang. He's not doing anything. Sure. So, TakeOver Brooklyn 2, the show where everyone was dead set AJ Styles was going to fight for the NXT title. That show kicked off with Joe Hendry and Joseph Connors versus Imperium to become where Hendry and Connors won the NXT tag titles and what has become an infamous moment where Ray really was not happy with me. Ray would then bring in the Hart Dynasty right after the match to attack Hendry and Connors. Drake Maverick would beat Kushida in the number 1 contenders match for the Cruiserweight title. Karrion Kross would retain the North American title against Dominic Dijakovic and Valter in a triple threat. Ricochet and Rey Mysterio had a banging Cruiserweight title match that Ricochet would win. Timothy Thatcher bested AJ Styles in a best of 5. Ember Moon would beat Candice LeRae for the NXT Women's title. We had a special announcement about TakeOver London coming up in a few months where Ilya Dragunov would debut. And the main event was Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne for the NXT title. And overall, a middle of the road TakeOver. I'm going to say just above Backlash, just below Money in the Bank. It was a Haas triple threat. It was before I'd gotten my new catchphrase. I forgot Rebellion. We said Haas triple threat. I did not put Impact Rebellion on here. That is fine. We're not going to worry about it. SummerSlam Season 2. Oh boy, what a show this was. SummerSlam Season 2, I have some memories of. It's an important show because it was the beginning of Bobby Roode's WWE title reign. I'll cut that organized by views, not date. That explains a lot. This show saw Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar in the Fight Pit, which was Lesnar's final appearance until Season 3. Cesaro and Nakamura in a big rematch for the IC title. Nakamura would win. Kevin Owens would demolish Sami Zayn. Keith Lee and Samoa Joe had a Hoss Fest for the U.S. title that Keith Lee would win. Shayna Baszler would once again beat Becky Lynch and send her packing for a year for the Raw or to retain the SmackDown Women's title, proving to be Becky's kryptonite. Bobby Roode would finally beat Finn Balor and become WWE champion. The Undisputed Era would beat the Hurt Business to become SmackDown Tag Team champions. Seth Rollins and Murphy had their big no-holds-barred match, which I believe became match of the series, or match of the season, where Murphy would break free and beat Seth Rollins. Rhea Ripley beat Ronda Rousey to become Raw Women's Champion, only to be cashed in on by Bayley. And the main event was the rematch from WrestleMania, where Tommaso Ciampa tied the score 1-1 and beat Johnny Gargano. I was taking a bite of my food for dramatic effect. And now I got to take a drink because I've been doing this for an hour. So, SummerSlam Season 2. Pretty good show. I don't know if I rank it as best of the best, though. I think it goes top pretty good, though. It was the first show Ray and I did in the same room. It was the first pay-per-view with Bobby Roode becoming WWE champion. I'm kind of talking myself into saying it's better than Survivor Series, actually. Rollins and Murphy, Gargano, Ciampa, Ripley, Rousey, Balor, Rude, Lesnar. Yeah, better than Survivor Series. Don't know if it tops TakeOver New York, though. Clash of Champions Season 2, though. Kyle Grubb says, I've seen every video on this channel, and I love the universe modes you do. I'm glad you enjoy it. Thank you. So let's see. Clash of Champions Season 2. This was another big show. We had Kevin Owens beating Keith Lee to become United States Champion. We had Rey and Dominic Mysterio becoming Raw Tag Team Champions against Grizzled Young Veterans. We had Mia Yim challenging unsuccessfully to beat Shayna Baszler for the SmackDown Women's title. We got a big 5-way matchup where Nakamura retained the IC title against Dominic Dijakovic, Daniel Bryan, Roderick Strong, and Bobby Lashley. Gulak and Nice challenged versus the Hurt Business versus the Undisputed Era for the SmackDown Tag titles. Bobby Roode defended the WWE title against Matt Riddle. Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Bayley had a triple threat for the Raw Women's title that Bayley would retain in by stealing the win. And the main event, I just want to watch the end of this main event again because, unfortunately, Ray and I did have to record this show remotely because I could not come pick him up at the time. But Ciampa and Randy Orton, a matchup that so this premiered in April 2021. I came up with the idea for this feud in August 2020. So this was before WrestleMania even aired. So this was the end of the show. I believe this was also the final time Ray and I did commentary remotely. So Ciampa would retain, and then we would pull the Gargano and Ciampa thing of putting the end credit thing up, only for Orton to jump Ciampa, get set up for the punt kick, and then suddenly Johnny Gargano would make the save after Orton had punt kicked him several weeks earlier. I think all that makes Clash of Champions 1 significantly better than Clash of Champions 2 significantly better than Clash of Champions 1. Also, I believe the first main roster pay-per-view to not have Seth Rollins on it in any way, shape, or form. Kind of weird. So, onward and upward. Bad Blood. Oh, man. This show is so important to the history of LS11. This might be the most important show of Season 2. Kevin Owens made his U.S. Championship Open Challenge. And the premise of the U.S. Open Challenge was it could not be anyone that had ever been beat by Kevin Owens in LS11. And people were like, oh, and nobody understood that premise for some reason. Nobody understood the idea of if Kevin Owens has beat you, you can't challenge him tonight. We had people saying Keith Lee. We had people say Sami Zayn. We had people saying Buddy Murphy, who Owens beat like 3. By the way, Buddy Murphy after SummerSlam, I botched so freaking hard. He lost to Kevin Owens twice. He lost to Roman Reigns, and he lost a Fatal 4. He did not get a win after SummerSlam until after Bad Blood. Like, I botched that so hard. He should have been fighting Bobby Roode at Clash of Champions. I stand by that. He should have fought Bobby Roode at Clash of Champions. The reason he didn't is because he was supposed to fight Bobby Roode for the WWE title and win it at SummerSlam Season 3. Anyways, back to Bad Blood. The Kevin Owens U.S. Open Challenge ended up being accepted by El Generico, and the idea was that Kevin Steen has beat El Generico, but Kevin Owens has never beat him, and it was a 3-second match. It was like a 5-second match. Sicko leg kick, 1, 2, 3. We would have the Undisputed Era retain the SmackDown tag titles over the Wyatt family of Wolfgang and Killian Dane. Bayley would actually finally lose the Raw Women's title to Rhea Ripley, and this is important because Rhea would go on and hold the title for 477 days. Adam Cole would beat Edge. Rollins and Thorne would beat the Mysterios to become Raw Tag Team Champions. Roderick Strong would beat Roderick Strong would beat Shinsuke Nakamura to become Intercontinental Champion. Matt Riddle, Roman Reigns, and Bobby Roode had a WWE title triple threat where Roode would retain. Toni Storm would get the upset of the season by beating Shayna Baszler to become SmackDown Women's Champion. And in the main event, Tommaso Ciampa would retain the World Heavyweight title against Johnny Gargano and Randy Orton. But for those that have never seen this before, one of the most important things ever happened after the match. This is the final moments of Bad Blood. I said this is the final moments of Bad Blood. Let's watch the chat with this, shall we? Cole gonna cash in. What a great pay-per-view. I hope. And still the gold holder. Cash in? Didn't see that coming. He's cashing in. And I think earlier in the show, someone asked if they thought he was going to cash in. Wow. Yes. Oh, shit. Yes. Everyone's freaking out while this is all happening. Yes. Yes. There's Blaze waving there. Yes. It's happening. The UE. Cole, do it, baby. Yes. Fulfill the prophecy. Fulfill the prophecy. Wait, what? That's got to be a cash in. Last shot. Yay. Wow, it's complete. All in one night, the Undisputed Era won all of their scheduled matches and all walked out with gold. And I think with all that, 6 title changes, the Undisputed Era ending with all the gold, it felt like we did WrestleMania on a random throwaway show. You can see where I'm getting that idea from, though, right? That felt like we gave you guys a WrestleMania pay-per-view on a random Saturday in May. Yeah, May. Because it premiered like right before my father-in-law's birthday. TakeOver London was next. God, the Undisputed Prophecy was crazy, man. And then it ended a month later. Fish and O'Reilly lost the titles a month later. Anyway, NXT TakeOver London. Tegan Nox would beat Ember Moon to become NXT Women's Champion. Ilya Dragunov debuted and beat Dolph Ziggler in what became the first of many matches that led to a Dolph Ziggler push. Joseph Connors beat Ricochet to become Cruiserweight Champion. Hart Dynasty would beat Mustache Mountain to keep the NXT Tag titles. Karrion Kross would beat Timothy Thatcher to retain the North American title. And Walter would beat Pete Dunne and become NXT champion in what was the match of the night, in my opinion. So I'm not gonna, like I said, I don't dwell on takeovers too much because they're Ray's thing. I do think that TakeOver London was the best takeover out of the bunch for a while. I think it was better than the first SummerSlam. I don't know, and Clash of Champions 1 is so high up because of the debut of Seth Rollins as the Monday Night Messiah. So we're gonna move on to Survivor Series 2 here because there might be some stuff to share on this one. Survivor Series Season 2. Yep, here it is. And I do have stuff I want to share on this one that I'll show in a minute. One moment that I think makes one of these matches so important. You had the opening pyro. You had Gargano and Ciampa reuniting as DIY for the first time ever to beat the Undisputed Era and become SmackDown Tag Team Champions. You had Toni Storm beat Shayna Baszler in a 2 out of 3 falls match to retain the SmackDown Women's title. You had Finn Balor getting his rematch against Bobby Roode where he would come up short for the WWE title. Roman Reigns would destroy Matt Riddle. Rhea Ripley would destroy Bayley to retain the Raw Women's title. Titus O'Neil would fail to capture the U.S. title from El Generico. John Cena would make his return and go head-to-head with Adam Cole for the World Heavyweight title. And the main event was Team Rollins versus Team Sandow, where the result was if Rollins won, Sandow was fired. If Sandow won, Rollins became Sandow's personal assistant. One of these matches is not like the other. One of these matches is Titus O'Neil here. All that said, I do love Titus O'Neil, but it is a weird choice to have him challenging on pay-per-view. It was supposed to be Braun Strowman, but we know what happened. I'm excited. So Barry McLean here. He has been going through and watching the series from start to finish. He just watched the final episode before WrestleMania, and he just finished it 57 seconds ago, which means he's going to be watching WrestleMania for the first time, either tonight or tomorrow. I'm excited for that. So I want to find a moment in the Cena and Cole match. There's a moment in that matchup where it was like, oh no. Where everyone was like, oh no. Thinking Cena had it won. Because I know a lot of people, like, here it was, right here. I think when Cena hit that second AA, everyone was like, oh no. Because DIY had already lost the tag titles earlier in the night. Or DIY had already won the tag titles earlier in the night. I think that alone cements Survivor Series as a very good show. TLC Season 2, where the mid-card accidentally main evented the show. I'm sorry, but am I wrong? Oh, wait, actually, hold on. I need to get the clip. Let me see if I can find the clip real quick. I need this meme. How many more months does Cena have before he has to retire? Right. So yeah, we're heading into Money in the Bank, and we already know he's not fighting for the title there. So he's got, after Money in the Bank, he's got Extreme Rules, he's got SummerSlam, he's got Clash, he's got Bad Blood, and then he's got Survivor Series. He's got 5 months. I'm trying to find the clip. If I can't find it, that's fine. I'm going to have to edit it, but I think I can make it work. I can only find shit posts made out of it. What I'm trying to find is the Bobby Fish. I mean, folks, where's the lie? Followed by dead silence in the impact zone. It's fine. It's fine. TLC Season 2 was main evented by the mid-card. I stand by it. I love all of those guys, but that was the most mid-card main event I could have done with those 5. But the 5 people in it, of course. Let's talk about it. The match card for TLC Season 2. El Generico would lose his U.S. title to a debuting LA Knight. Yeah. Adam Cole would retain the World Heavyweight title against Drew McIntyre. DIY would retain the SmackDown Tag titles in a ladder match against the UE and the New Day. Rhea Ripley would beat Charlotte in a tables match to retain the women's title, which did that matchup just to piss people off. Roderick Strong would beat Dominik Dijakovic to retain the IC title. Daniel Bryan would win the number 1 contenders tournament by beating Cesaro in a huge finals match in the main event, which was awesome. Toni Storm would beat Sasha Banks to retain the women's title, which, again, I did just to piss people off. Monday Night Messiahs beat the Usos to retain the SmackDown, or to retain the Raw titles, which I want to find the finish to that matchup, because the finish to that matchup was actually a really cool spot, if I remember correctly. Like, I want to pull this up real quick. Let's see if we can find it. Because I think the end of this matchup is where Ray officially started dubbing Shane Thorne as the self-sacrificing disciple. Yes, it was, because here we go. So, yeah. Jimmy throws Shane in the corner. So Seth tags himself in. Grabs onto Jimmy. Launches him into Shane. And then Seth splashes them, like sandwiches him between himself and Jay. Or sandwiches Shane between himself and Jimmy. And then uses that to hit the frog splash. So Shane Thorne's dead. And Seth Rollins essentially used Shane Thorne as a blockade so he could take down Jimmy. And then, then the main event was Mustafa Ali, Apollo Crews, Ricochet, Murphy, and Bobby Roode for the WWE title. And Roode would ultimately retain. It was a fine show. It was a middle of the road show. Better than Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was better. Say here. Probably just a middle of the road show. Next up's TakeOver Portland. One will stand, one will fall. Using the Transformers line there. I think it's one shall stand, one shall fall, actually, for Transformers. But anyway. TakeOver Portland. We had AJ Styles versus Bronson Reed, which served as Bronson's farewell match to NXT. Swerve Scott versus Joseph Connors for the Cruiserweight title. Karrion Kross versus Damian Priest for the North American title. Naomi versus Tegan Nox for the NXT Women's title. Gable and Benjamin versus the Hart Dynasty for the tag titles. And Ilya Dragunov versus Walter for the NXT title. It's a good show. I mean, ultimately, AJ beat Bronson. Connors beat Swerve. Kross beat Priest. Nox beat Naomi. Hart Dynasty retained and Walter retained. Everyone retained their titles and AJ beat Bronson. And that served as Bronson's final NXT match. But it was a really good show. Like everything was really good. Naomi had a great performance there. Naomi and Tegan were two people that were talked about to take the title off Ripley in LS11. And now Tegan's being talked about coming back. So it means that all of this writing around was for nothing. Ultimately, pretty good show. I mean, I'm going to say kind of here, I think is where it's going to go. And then I'm going to put it just below London, actually, because it was a good show, but I think London just is a very special show for all of us. Speaking of special shows, let's talk about Royal Rumble Season 2. Royal Rumble Season 2 has some moments in it, to say the least. It's got some moments that we should talk about. So first of all, let's look at the match card. Most importantly, let's look at the match card. Trish Stratus versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's title, where Rhea would ultimately win. Biggest win of her reign at the time. Bobby Roode would cheat to retain the WWE title against Seth Rollins. DIY would lose the SmackDown tag titles back to the Undisputed Era. Toni Storm would retain the title against Sonya Deville. The Women's Rumble would be won by Shayna Baszler. Quite honestly, we had no clue who to have win that Rumble. And Shayna was just kind of a last-minute choice of, well, who's going to fight Ripley at WrestleMania? And we went back and forth on a lot of ideas, and ultimately the only idea that either of us liked was Sonya, or Shayna, I mean. Viking Raiders would lose to the Monday Night Messiahs for the World Tag titles. Adam Cole would retain the World Heavyweight title against Daniel Bryan because of Bobby Roode interference. And then the Royal Rumble was won by Johnny Gargano. But my God, this was probably one of the most fun Royal Rumbles we had. It started with El Generico and Cesaro. We had Roderick Strong come in, Matt Riddle. If it would not buffer, that'd be fantastic. So I could just kind of click through. You had Jeff Hardy, who had an impressive 10-minute run. I think Hardy had a 15-minute run, I think was actually right. The only awkward thing is this was July 31st, 2021. Bray Wyatt got released 20 minutes before he entered the match. You had Damian Priest come in from NXT. A lot of NXT surprises in this one. You had LA Knight come in. A few people actually pegged LA Knight to win the whole thing. Jeff Hardy just went on this tear. Dragunov came in from NXT, which was really cool. Nakamura had a good run. Everyone kind of just got their shit in, is the best way to put it. You had Kevin Owens come in. And then Jinder came in at number 10. Or no. Jinder came in at number 11 because I was saying I always pick number 11 every year. 11's my number. I got up and left commentary, and then this happened. And the idea was Ray couldn't see from the desk, I guess. I guess the idea was Ray could only see the limo pull up, and he couldn't see who got out of it yet. So I entered the Rumble. I tried to throw out Jinder. I finally said his name. And then Johnny Gargano came in and was doing really good. And so Ray said, I'll handle it, and got in there. Hi, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Ray would ultimately end up being eliminated by Gargano. And there were a lot of other cool surprises in there as well. Like we had Karrion Kross, we had Kurt Angle, Bronson Reed officially debuted. And then it came down to Gargano and Ciampa, and Gargano ultimately won. I mean, I'd argue that this Rumble show probably goes up in best of the best, right? I'm doing pretty well. Good to see you. Let's see. I'm going to put Royal Rumble, I'm going to say up here. Probably third best show at the time. I really enjoyed that show a lot. Let's pull up Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber Season 2 was next. And that show saw Candice LeRae, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Lacey Evans, Carmella, and Mia Yim in a number one contenders chamber match. That would be where Candice LeRae would get the win. Shinsuke Nakamura would unsuccessfully challenge LA Knight for the U.S. title. A lot of people really thought that Nakamura was going to go on and beat Knight at WrestleMania, oddly enough. The Undisputed Era retained the SmackDown tag titles over Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa for the World Heavyweight title went to a no contest, and that's where the triple threat was announced. The Bloodline would destroy the Messiah when the Messiahs imploded after Roman convinced Shane and Dio to attack Seth. Bray Wyatt would beat Jeff Hardy. Rhea Ripley would retain the Raw Women's title against Charlotte Flair. We had the WrestleMania host announcement where we faked everyone out by making them think it would be Corbin, and it ended up being Stone Cold. And then the main event for the WWE title was a Royal Rumble, or not Royal Rumble, an Elimination Chamber matchup between Daniel Bryan, Keith Lee, Bronson Reed, Ricochet, Finn Balor, and Bobby Roode. And that was to set up the Bryan and Roode match. Pretty good show, ultimately. I think it goes top of pretty good. Maybe just below Survivor Series. It was my first show after moving, so it's got a special place in my heart there. It aired on, what day did it air on? I'm genuinely curious. Does it say when it aired? I guess I could pull it up and I could find out that way. It aired on August 28th, so it literally aired a week after I'd moved, and that was a very special point in my life, just moving out and being on my own. And then we have Takeover 10, which was little did we know, one of the final NXT takeovers. NXT Takeover 10. We had Shelton Benjamin versus Chad Gable, where Chad Gable got the win. Joseph Connors retained the Cruiserweight title against Santos Escobar in a ladder match. Hart Dynasty would finally lose the titles to Mustache Mountain, with the stipulation being if Mustache Mountain lost, then they had to go to Raw or SmackDown. Tegan Nox beat Natalya to retain the Women's Championship. Natalya in a title match on the essentially NXT WrestleMania was certainly a choice. I have never let Ray live that down. Ilya Dragunov would become, still to this day, the only man to pin Karrion Kross in LS11 to become North American champion. And then in the main event, AJ Styles finally won the NXT title against Pete Dunne, Timothy Thatcher, and Walter, hitting the phenomenal forearm for the first time in a year. Pretty good show, ultimately. And I say if it goes anywhere, it goes bottom of best of the best. And that brings us on to WrestleMania 2, which WrestleMania 2, as I mentioned, recently got copyright claimed, unfortunately, because of the video package. Oddly, the video package for Cole, Ciampa, and Gargano got copyright claimed on this, but not the actual video package itself, which is essentially just the song being ripped and put on YouTube with some video over it. Make it make sense. My guess is that this video is bigger, so. So WrestleMania 2 kicked off with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in a number one contenders match. Hold on. WrestleMania 2 was actually the first show where we had a kickoff show for WrestleMania, now that I think about it. Prince Mata, Mania Del Zander, and Ray would host the kickoff show, and that show would also feature the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal as the only match on the show where Karrion Kross steamrolled the Battle Royal and Mata was on commentary. I just remembered that. And it was why Kross became number one contender to the IC title. So, WrestleMania opened with Sami Zayn beating Kevin Owens to become number one contender to the WWE title. We had the Intercontinental Championship ladder match between John Cena, John Morrison, Bray Wyatt, Jeff Hardy, Dominic Dijakovic, Randy Orton, Cesaro, and come on, Xander, you can do it. Pave the way, put your back into it, tell us why, show us how. Look where you came from, look at you now. You're stalling for time because you can't remember who it was. Roderick Strong. I'm proud of that one. Dijakovic got the unexpected win in that ladder matchup. Shinsuke Nakamura beat Finn Balor. Candice LeRae beat Toni Storm for the SmackDown Women's title. Shane Thorne and Dio Madden lost the Raw tag titles to the debuting Imperium, who were mystery opponents. The U.S. title was in a six-pack challenge when LA Knight defended against Keith Lee, Mustafa Ali, Ricochet, Matt Riddle, and Bronson Reed. And Mustafa Ali would get the shock win in that one. Had Bronson Reed not been released, it was going to be him. Shayna Baszler failed to capture. Shayna Baszler became the first Rumble winner to lose at WrestleMania when Rhea Ripley retained the title against her. Bobby Roode cheated to end the career of Daniel Bryan. Apollo Crews beat Drew McIntyre in the Raw versus SmackDown matchup. But Drew, look at where everyone is nowadays, and you can see who really won that one is Drew. Undisputed Era retained the SmackDown tag titles against the New Day and the Hurt Business, which that matchup really falls apart in the end because Kyle O'Reilly was fake injured from it. It was supposed to be Kevin Owens. At first, it was supposed to be Daniel Bryan who'd attacked him, and it was going to be the Undisputed Era versus Team Hell No. And Bryan was going to low blow Kane and join the Undisputed Era, and it was revealed he attacked Kyle O'Reilly to take his spot in the UE, but that was going to be revealed months later, and then Bryan was leaving, so it was going to be Kevin Owens, and he was going to show up and help the UE retain. And it was going to be Owens, Fish, Strong, and Cole. And then Adam Cole was leaving, and Bobby Fish got fired, and it all just kind of fell apart in a burning blaze of glory. But you know what? That's fine. UE retained because Bobby Fish slid back in and hit a chair, hit Kofi or hit Big E with a chair. Seth Rollins officially became Kingslayer again and beat Roman Reigns in a street fight, which has that really cool run-in spot from Murphy in it. And then Gargano would turn heel and become World Heavyweight Champion in the main event. It's a WrestleMania, so I feel like it belongs in the top tier. But let's see what you guys think. Is it better than Bad Blood? I don't think it is looking back on it, but if chat can sway me, I will put it over Bad Blood. But we're going to move into season 3 now. We are finally into the final stretch after I've been doing this for an hour and a half. I apologize for how long this is going, but you know what? I'm having a good time. I hope everyone else is as well. It gives me an opportunity to talk about all this stuff I haven't talked about before. We got Backlash Season 3, which had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Brock Lesnar, and what I think was Lesnar's only third matchup of the season out of the 20 he would have. Nikki ASH officially debuted as the character and lost to Candice LeRae for the SmackDown title. Samoa Joe would destroy Mustafa Ali for the U.S. title, and now they're fighting for the Impact World title at Ultimate X in 2 weeks. So long-term storytelling, folks. Hurt Business would lose against Imperium for the Raw Tag titles, where Noam Dar would get kicked out at the end. Karrion Kross would honestly, I don't think Season 2 Mania is better than Bad Blood. Huh. As in, you do think Bad Blood's better? Because there's kind of a double negative there of, I don't think that it isn't. I'm confused. So you're saying Bad Blood's better, right, Pierre? So Rhea Ripley would beat Dakota Kai to retain the women's title. The Fatal 4-Way of everybody in the very shallow pool of the Robert Stone brand, the Lucha House Party, the Undisputed Era, and the Viking Raiders for the SmackDown tag titles, where Rated RKO would debut after. Bobby Roode beat Sami Zayn to retain the WWE title. Roman Reigns beat Cesaro, and in the main event, The Way would officially form, and Gargano would beat Rollins. Overall, Backlash, pretty good pay-per-view. I don't think it goes any higher. Bad Blood is better. Sorry about the confusion. All right, cool. I think, you know what? I think Backlash 3, I think it goes about here. Better than any of the season 1 stuff, but definitely above, not the best kickoff to season 3. Vengeance, I have some weird memories of. So Vengeance is a weird pay-per-view because Vengeance happened while I was on a mini vacation, sort of. One of my friends, Tech, who is Quizmaster's tag partner in LSWF, was getting married the day Vengeance was supposed to air. And he invited me to come from my house in Georgia. He sent me an invite to come to North Carolina and come to his wedding. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna come meet my internet friend. And so my fiance, now my fiance, at the time my girlfriend and I, her best friend also lived in North Carolina, about a 2-hour drive away from the wedding. So we agreed that we would get a hotel for 2 nights, the night we got to North Carolina and the night of the wedding. And then we would go further into North Carolina to stay with her best friend for, I think, 3 more nights was how long we were there.
Yeah, it was 3 more nights because we had like 2.5 days with them.
That sounds right. Yeah. But yeah, in all this time, Vengeance was supposed to air on the Saturday of the wedding, and I didn't know what time the wedding started for sure. And I'd forgotten how long Vengeance was. So, and I knew that getting ready for the wedding was going to be hard because I had to put on my suit. She had to do her makeup, and I wasn't going to hold us up with the premiere. So ultimately, Vengeance ends up premiering at 7 o'clock at night on a Friday after we'd been driving all day to North Carolina. So like, I'm just laying in the hotel bed with earbuds in, watching this premiere with like 3 people. And Vengeance has pretty good viewership nowadays, but like, nobody was really watching that night because it was almost midnight by the time it was over. And I had to get up for a wedding the next day. It was a fine show. All of that said, we haven't even talked about the card. We had a triple threat where Samoa Joe retained the U.S. title against LA Knight and Mustafa Ali. Tommaso Ciampa had like one of his first and only ever clean singles losses, and it was against Bobby Lashley. Let's see. Karrion Kross retained the Intercontinental title against Roderick Strong, which Roddy was on his own at this point. He was a babyface and everything. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez had a match for the Raw Women's title that Rhea won. Gargano beat Ricochet to retain the World Heavyweight title. Walter beat Big E to continue the story of Big E has no friends on Raw. Rated RKO beat the Viking Raiders to retain the SmackDown titles. Candice LeRae beat Io Shirai to retain the women's title. Imperium beat the Usos to retain the SmackDown titles. Seth Rollins and Dominic Dijakovic had a match shoehorned onto the card where Dijakovic paired up with Thorne and Madden randomly to kind of bastardize more than it already was Retribution. And Rollins obviously won. And then the main event, Bobby Roode beat Cesaro because we didn't think Cesaro was going to be the one to beat Roode at that point. We thought it was going to be... We thought for a while it was going to be Murphy. It was going to be Jon Moxley for a minute. I think going into this point, it was going to be Matt Riddle. At this point, it was going to be Keith Lee, I think. And then he got released. So Vengeance, it's kind of another middle-of-the-road pay-per-view. I'd say better than Backlash, but not the most memorable thing. Finally, though, AEW Revolution comes into play. We finally hit AEW territory, folks. AEW Revolution, only the 7th episode of AEW Universe. Jon Moxley and Hangman Page had a match for the TNT Championship that Moxley would win. He would be attacked by a debuting Adam Cole afterwards. The Good Brothers beat Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin in the finals of the tag team tournament. CM Punk made his first ever LS11 Universe matchup against Pac. We had the Face of the Revolution ladder match where Buddy Matthews debuted, and it was won ultimately by Jungle Boy. Malachi Black demolished Chris Jericho. Britt Baker became women's champion against Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa. In the main event, MJF tapped out Bryan Danielson to become the first ever champion. I honestly think this might go best of the best. You know what? I think it's top 5. Looking back on it a year later, I think it's top 5 at this point. Which leads us into TakeOver Cleveland. I'm going to try and start doing these a little quicker because I realize I've been talking for almost 2 hours now. And I was hoping to talk about some more stuff here. So TakeOver Cleveland was next. I remember this one was another one of those where it was like, wow, my timing is impeccable as always with these premieres. Because this one, I was sitting in bed at my in-laws' house. I had to do this premiere from my fiance's childhood bedroom because we had plans that day. And so, talking about the premiere I had to host from your parents' house that one time.
I don't quite recall that, but yeah.
You know, we were going out of town that day, and so I brought my laptop and we just left afterwards.
Right. Were we going?
I think we were doing Chattanooga that day.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But anyway, so TakeOver Cleveland, that was a really good show. That was where Chad Gable became Cruiserweight Champion against Joseph Connors. Kind of a weird match there where Dragunov retained the North American title against Angel Garza. Mustache Mountain would beat GOIB to retain the tag titles. It Drew Gulak and Austin Theory, which was just kind of a way of getting Theory built up in time for trying to get Theory built up because at one point in time he was going to be the one to beat AJ Styles. You had Pete Dunne and Timothy Thatcher finally blow up their feud in a street fight, which I believe served as the end to Timothy Thatcher before he debuted in Impact. Tegan Nox would beat Sasha Banks. Originally, Sasha was going to win this matchup, actually. Sasha was going to become the NXT Women's Champion at this point. And then she just started getting a lot of flack because of a lot of the anti-vax stuff was coming out about her. She was just getting a lot of flack for a lot of stuff at the time. So we were like, that's probably not a good idea to put the title on her during all this negative press right now. And then the main event was AJ Styles and Dolph Ziggler, which saw the debut of Apollo Crews. Honestly, I really liked this takeover. I'm going to put it in pretty good. I'm going to put it down the top 3 of pretty good for right now. We go into Money in the Bank next. And I remember this one because this continued my trend of impeccable timing. Because this one aired on December 18th, 7 days before Christmas, and the day that my mom's side of my family does Christmas. It's happening again this year, by the way. Except not with Money in the Bank. I think it's Extreme Rules this year. So, Money in the Bank Season 3. This was a really fun show, I remember. You had the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which I need to pull up to remember who all was in it. So, we'll do that together. I mean, look at that. Look at that WWE title match just to kick us off. So, the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at this ladder match up here. You had Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Toni Storm, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Mandy Rose, and Bayley. That's a pretty good lineup once again. Is there someone missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, there's not. I just weirdly laid that out. Ultimately, Mandy Rose would end up winning. And I'm still on board with that, but I think looking back at this, had she not been released, Dakota Kai would have been a good choice. I think Io Shirai could have been a good choice. I think everyone except Charlotte could have been a good choice in this one. But I do think that Mandy Rose was a good choice. I think her being a chicken shit heel champion for a couple of months was fun. You had Rampage Brown versus Ricochet versus Karrion Kross for the IC title. Ricochet would end up winning that one, and that was the final time we saw Karrion Kross in LS11. And still is at this point. And he just wasn't pinned in that one. Rampage was. Liv Morgan had her first ever match with Rhea Ripley. She would come up short against her. Sami Zayn would challenge Brock Lesnar, which was where we found out that Brock Lesnar's mystery sponsor was, in fact, let me see if I can find it. We found out that Brock Lesnar's sponsor was none other than good old Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff was the sponsor of Brock Lesnar, which was really cool. I remember that being a lot of fun. You had Kevin Owens, Jeff Hardy, and Johnny Gargano in a triple threat ladder match for the World Heavyweight title. Gargano would retain. A lot of people thought Jeff Hardy was going to win that one. Samoa Joe would retain the U.S. title against Shinsuke Nakamura. Mick Foley announced the hardcore title. Bobby Lashley, Big E, Tommaso Ciampa, and Bobby Roode had a WWE title match where Roode would end up capitalizing off of Ciampa in order to win it. And a lot of people thought that was going to lead to Ciampa winning the title. And then the men's Money in the Bank ladder match that year was another one of those where I believe in Discord I've said before, you know, we had such a star-studded ladder match here. I mean, you can kind of faintly see it in the corner, but I'm going to let it get bigger here. You had Walter, Swerve Scott, LA Knight, Roman Reigns, Roderick Strong, Finn Balor, Keith Lee, and a debuting Pete Dunne, and I picked arguably the worst choice. Roderick Strong would end up winning it, which was fine, hindsight, with how it all turned out. I think it turned out for the best with him winning it and going to Cody instead. I think if all 8 of these guys were still in WWE, I think nowadays Swerve could have been a good pick. I think Dunn could have been a good segue for him. Balor, if he was going to start Fight Factory. I don't know. I think Roderick Strong ultimately ended up working out for us. But this is one of those shows where it's like, oddly, you'll notice there's not much middle of the road after season 2, because I think season 3 was really a good year for us. But Money in the Bank, pretty good. Say pretty good. Some of these things, I might start moving some stuff to middle of the road, by the way, after this. Like, I might start moving, like, Elimination Chamber and TLC down the middle of the road. Swerve as Mr. Money in the Bank or Finn could have been cool. Exactly. I'm going to put this one, I'm going to say just below Clash 1. And I'm going to move these down the middle of the road. I'm going to move Elimination Chamber and TLC down the middle of the road. Like Roddy, I think he could have been a great champ if he didn't ask for his release. Yeah, him asking for his release really messed things up for us. Okay, so next up is Extreme Rules Season 3. It was the final shows with Rude and Gargano as champions before they would lose them the following month. You had the Hardcore Championship 6-pack scramble. You had LA Knight versus Sheamus versus Odyssey Jones versus Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Owens. Jeff Hardy would win that. He'd get attacked by Carlito, and John Cena would return. You had Ricochet versus Dexter Lumis for the IC title, where Ricochet would win. You had Samoa Joe beating Matt Riddle for the U.S. title. Ciampa would return after the matchup. Roddy was going to be champion right now, if not for him asking for his release. Actually, I think he would have lost the title by now. I think he was going to be a transitional champ onto Matt Riddle. But we'll talk about that more later in the season, once we're a little more into this stuff. But you had Bobby Roode beat Drew McIntyre to retain the WWE title. You had Seth Rollins lose to Roderick Strong with the Money in the Bank contract on the line because of Drew Gulak debuting and forming Diamond Mine. John Cena made his return and beat Carlito in a match that was added to the card. Candice LeRae retained the women's title against Asuka, and Randy Orton would lose to Johnny Gargano for the Extreme Rules Last Man Standing match is what I was trying to think of, for the World Heavyweight title. And I want to show the finish of this matchup because I think it's a really cool finish. I'm still really proud of how it all turned out. It's kind of one of those, like, I want you to win, but karma's a bitch, isn't it, moments. So Randy throws Gargano back into the ring. He's got him down. He's just put him through the table. Rampage jumps him. Bump the volume down here a little bit. So it's like Rampage comes out. He starts fighting Gargano. He starts trying to take down Orton. He's trying to buy Gargano time. Randy beats him down, hits him with the RKO, and then Randy slides into the ring. Boom! And Gargano punts him for the win. Payback for a year ago when Orton punched Gargano. Extreme Rules. I'm really proud of this show. I think it's a really fun show. I like it a little more than Survivor Series, honestly. That brings us to All Out. Our first All Out. And don't worry, guys. There was no backstage drama after this one. All Out. This was actually the day after Extreme Rules. It was our second ever double premiere weekend. So honestly, where I got the idea of Orton sliding in and getting hit with the punt was from the 101. I don't know if anyone even knows who that is anymore, but the 101, I don't know if he still uploads. He had a universe mode for a small amount of time, and that was the way he finished a matchup once. It was CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus someone else for the WWE title. Punk took out whoever the third guy was on the outside, slid back in the ring right into the curb stomp. So, All Out, we saw CM Punk beat Miro in the opening matchup. Buddy Matthews became TNT champion against Jon Moxley. Kenny Omega lost to Darby Allin, which we're now leading into the rematch of next week at Revolution. Deonna Purrazzo came over from Impact for a champion versus champion match where Britt Baker beat her to retain the AEW Women's title. Cody and Dustin beat the Good Brothers to become tag team champions. Malachi Black beat the Painmaker Chris Jericho in a no-holds-barred match. The Casino Battle Royal, I've never told this before, but I want to share something about this because I feel like some people might notice there's something a little awkward about the Casino Battle Royal. And I'm going to open it up. I'm going to open it up and see, once we get to this point, if anyone can tell me what you notice seems a little off here. So we're in the final section here. There's one man left to come out, and it's the Joker. Nobody knows who it is. You can hear me and Ray going back and forth about All Out. Talking about how it's going to be Brian Cage, Adam Cole, or whoever the Joker is that challenges MJF or Hangman at the next special. And Adam Cole and Brian Cage go back and forth for a minute. But then suddenly, has anyone noticed anything yet? I hope you guys can hear it. So if you haven't noticed it yet, my audio quality has changed, and Ray is not there anymore. I have never said this before, and this is the only time I will ever admit this. Originally, the Joker was Jay Lethal, and Jay Lethal would debut and win and go on to challenge MJF. Then, some things about Jay Lethal were brought to my attention that led to me choosing to remove him from the series. I don't want to get into that. Let's just say it's the same reason Austin Aries isn't around. It's the same reason a guy on the cover of this isn't around. So Keith Lee was the substitution. But in the main event, Hangman Page would come up short against MJF for the AEW World title. I'm going to get back on track now. I think All Out was another pretty good show. Pretty solid show. I'm going to put it just above Elimination Chamber. I'm going to put it just below Elimination Chamber, actually. That brings us to TakeOver The End. This one's sad. This one just makes me sad to talk about. NXT TakeOver The End. You had the mystery opening contest where Sami Zayn and Cesaro had a match. Cesaro would win. The first ever NXT TakeOver kicked off with that matchup in real life. The final one for LS11 kicked off with it. Ilya Dragunov beat Shinsuke Nakamura to retain the NXT North American title. Chad Gable beat Mark Andrews to retain the Cruiserweight title. Sasha Banks cheated to beat Tegan Nox and Kaylee Ray for the NXT Women's title. Mustache Mountain beat New Day to retain the NXT tag titles. Dolph Ziggler beat Apollo Crews in the best of 5 finale. And Pete Dunne beat AJ Styles to become the final ever NXT champion. Now, if I'm just viewing this as it was the final NXT show, and we don't know NXT is coming back a year later, that really did age poorly, didn't it? NXT is coming back a year later. This goes down as probably one of, if not the best TakeOver. And I'm going to rank it as such. And I hear Discord going off, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I open it. I'm going to open it. Because I have a feeling that it's probably bickering going on in the LSW. Oh, would you imagine that? It's bickering going on in the LSWF Discord server. Imagine that. Anyways, on to SummerSlam Season 3. SummerSlam Season 3. My God, what a show SummerSlam Season 3 is. We got Seth Rollins and Johnny Gargano in the opening contest. Becky Lynch is revealed as the special enforcer of the matchup. Rollins finally becomes world champion again. Finn Balor brings back the Demon to beat Ricochet and become Intercontinental Champion. Rhea Ripley beats Piper Niven to retain the Raw Women's title. Brock Lesnar and Kevin Owens tear the arena apart where Lesnar wins. Roman Reigns beats Shinsuke Nakamura. John Cena wins against Roderick Strong, LOL. Tommaso Ciampa officially becomes Grand Slam Ciampa against Samoa Joe. There's some important stuff to talk about with this one. That's why I'm pulling it up. The Street Profits beat Imperium to become Raw Tag Team Champions. And in the main event, Cesaro finally is the one to dethrone Bobby Roode. But there's something much more important that not many people talk about. So let's see if I can find it real quick. Something very important happens. Also, just look at Ciampa here, man. Shout out to Joe Mashups for that mod. Not many people talk about this. In part because we had just announced Impact a month prior. A lot of people thought this was just some cheap publicity for us with Impact. Little do they know, that was the forbidden door being opened. It wasn't until the next night on Raw with Lance Archer that people really realized, oh. So, I say SummerSlam. Better than the previous year. In fact, I think it was better than Mania 1. I don't think it was better than Mania 2, but it was better than Mania 1. It might be better than Mania 2. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Jesus Christ, guys. The Discord server's being ridiculous. Okay. We're on to the 2K22 era. Clash of Champions, the first episode of 2K22. Rhea Ripley beat Sasha Banks to retain the Raw Women's title. Chad Gable beat Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander to retain the Cruiserweight title. Street Profits beat New Day to retain the Raw Tag titles. Big E became U.S. champion by beating Tommaso Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler. Damian Priest beat Mark Andrews in the finals of the New Beginnings tournament. I just got to take a minute. I'm still upset that I had to put Mark Andrews in the finals of that, only for him to vanish, because he got released right afterwards. He got released. There were no good cause of him. There was no modding. I would have much rather done Damian Priest versus Solo Sikoa in that final. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I humored Ray with Solo Sikoa. Or with Mark Andrews, I mean. Damian Priest would win. Cesaro beat Lance Archer and Robert Roode to retain the WWE title. Mustache Mountain beat Rated RKO to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Finn Balor cheated to beat Ilya Dragunov to become to retain the IC title. We had the Hardcore Open Challenge where El Generico won it, and then MVP won it, and then Danhausen won it. Candice LeRae ended up losing the SmackDown Women's title when Mandy Rose cashed in and made it a triple threat against her and Becky. And in the main event, Seth Rollins and Pete Dunne put on a hell of a matchup where Seth Rollins would retain the world title. And I think in part, this being the first pay-per-view on 2K22, as well as just the quality of some of the matches, I think it does put it in top 5 territory. I think it might go just above the first Mania. That's just me, though. I think it does go just above the first WrestleMania. And that brings us to Bound for Glory. My God, how much did this show change? Bound for Glory, the first one anyway, because now we're leading into the second one. Bound for Glory Season 3, the first ever Impact show on LS11 Universe. We had the Impact Tag Team titles on the line where Motor City beat the Mighty to become champions. Aaron Stevens had a filibuster that was interrupted by Samoa Joe. We had the Call Your Shot Gauntlet where Jeff Hardy would win. I just want to look at this Call Your Shot Gauntlet for a minute. Call Your Shot Gauntlet last year. One of the most fun things I've done. I remember Pierre, I specifically remember because it was funny. I specifically remember Pierre because this was really funny to me. I put up the silhouettes for the Season 4 Call Your Shot Gauntlet and said, here we go again. And Pierre's response was just, oh, joy. So you had RVD and Swerve starting it off. You had Eddie Edwards join the mix. Drama King Matt. Fallah Bah. Not everything was like a huge hit. Like it wasn't like everyone was a banger. You had Joe Hendry. Make things better. Wrestling and singing. You had Jonah. You had Gresham. You had Shane Taylor. Let's see. Who else did we have? Jeff Hardy would finally arrive. And then I want to talk about this. You can't talk about this Call Your Shot gauntlet without talking about number 11. One of the funniest fucking things we've ever done. I just want to talk about this because it's so funny. Number 11 was so funny. 1 week after ARW ended, we did this. Here it comes. Because I beat you at Revolution. You're here in your little world. You're lost, buddy. You're going to lose again. Ray was so mad, and I still can't tell if he was actually mad about this, about Carnold being in there, or if he was just playing it up for comedy. And so Jeff Hardy won that, made the challenge for later in the night to fight Moose. Tenille Dashwood, Taya Valkyrie, and Diana Perrazzo would have a match for the Knockout style. Perrazzo would retain. Mike Bennett became X Division champion in the main event. Jeff Hardy became world champion, and Jay White would debut. This is a tough one because I don't quite think this is a best show ever category, but I also feel like I wish there was like a category right between these two. I'm going to put it top of pretty good. And that sends us into Bad Blood 3. The second ever Bad Blood, but it was Bad Blood Season 3. This is another important show. God, Carnold being in Call Your Shot was the funniest shit ever. So many people were like, oh, he's got to win it. He's got to win it now, right? And Carnold was supposed to do a couple weeks like of actually being on Impact as a character. Like he wasn't going to wrestle, but he was going to be there just to kind of get some eyes on it because people like Carnold. And so Bad Blood Season 3, I'm going to pull this one up again because this one's got some moments in it as well to talk about. So, I mean, let's pop this back up. It had Finn Balor, an audible being called where Kevin Owens beat Finn Balor to become Intercontinental Champion. Walter beat Drew McIntyre to become number 1 contender. Mandy Rose beat Nikki ASH and ended the superhero gimmick to retain the SmackDown title. Johnny Gargano and John Cena had a match. Brock Lesnar beat Moose. Rhea Ripley beat Shayna inside a steel cage. Rollins beat Priest, debuting the Super Curb Stomp. Roderick Strong beat Chad Gable to become Cruiserweight Champion. Big E beat Xavier Woods to retain the U.S. title. The Big E versus New Day story is still my favorite one I've done. Like one of my favorite mid-card things from last season. Megastars became tag team champions. And in the main event, Roman Reigns officially became WWE champion against Cesaro. But I'm really curious. I got to check something here. Okay, no, it does not show you guys my desktop. You guys have not just repeatedly been seeing Black Cat from Spider-Man, right? Cool. Yes, Pierre knows exactly what I'm about to pull up. I want to talk about these entrances. Riddle me this. I am both colorful and invisible, loyal and treacherous, infamous and celebrated, hero against a viper, villain against the voiceless. What am I? The answer was John Cena. Nobody realized exactly what was going on. And like you can see in the chat here, and then boom, W. The way. I felt like it was obvious. And then Gargano's music hits. He comes out in an attire that's all green, dressed like the Riddler. And he's got on the back, riddle me this. And people are like, Paul Dano to LS11 Universe? I deleted a comment, and I'm not going to say who it's from because I don't want to put this person on blast right now. But one person in the chat was like, was that a Riddler thing? That's dumb. And then finally, like, what happened with the Riddler thing? Oh, Gargano is Riddler. I get it now. And then, of course, I've already spoiled it a little bit, but then, of course, still one of the funniest entrances. Peacemaker, John Cena, and then Ciampa would show up, and it got really serious real quick. Man, I have a high standard. I have set the bar so high on fucking Bad Blood 2 years in a row, with making it one of the best pay-per-views in the series 2 years in a row. Like, it's got to go above Clash. I don't know how I'm going to top it next year. I'm going to have like someone literally get murdered this time for it to top the previous two. So we got Full Gear next. And this one, I'm not big on this one. The fact that he had the hat. Yes, that was so funny. I don't know why he had the hat. I think it's because of his entrance where he threw it. I should have just given him any other entrance, but he's not John Cena if he's not doing this. So, Full Gear, the final show on 2K19. That's right. Full Gear was it. We were done with 2K19 after Full Gear. Wardlow and Keith Lee at a Haas fight that Keith Lee won. Britt Baker retained the title against Ruby Soho. Kenny Omega beat Pac. CM Punk beat Kenta. The Elite, the Undisputed Elite of the Young Bucks and Redragon beat the Dark Order. Bryan Danielson lost to Malachi Black. Scorpio Sky lost to Buddy Matthews for the TNT title after their time limit draw. FTR would become champions by taking out Jurassic Express and beating the Rhodes. And then Darby Allin beat MJF in the main event. There wasn't much to this show. It's just kind of I think it's a middle of the road show. We'll go top of middle of the road with it. But now we've got one final beat Survivor Series. And I considered calling the show Survivor Series One Final Beat. But it felt like too long of a title. So Survivor Series One Final Beat, we had WWE Championship matchup where Roman Reigns beat Walter. We had Team Banks get clean swept by Team Ripley. And Team Banks was Dakota, Bayley, Sasha, and who was Team Banks? I'm going to have to pull this up, aren't I? Shit. It was Dakota, it was Sasha, it was Bayley, and it was Shayna, that's right, against Rhea, Naomi. God, the audio was so terrible in this one as well. Rhea, Naomi, Bianca, and Liv. And it was a clean sweep for Team Rhea. And then we had Edge beat lose to Damian Priest. This is a perfect sum up. Other than the House of Black for me and Darby dethroning MJF, I barely remember Full Gear. Yeah, it's not a great show. Like, I stand by, it's one of the weakest shows of the season. Possibly even the weakest show of season 3. But you had Seth and Drew in their first matchup against each other in almost 2 years, where Seth beat him. Seth finally beat Drew to retain the World Heavyweight title. Big E beat Kofi for the U.S. title. Nikki Cross joined Fight Factory and beat Mandy Rose to become champion. Cody Rhodes beat John Cena in Cody's first WWE match. Moose lost to AJ Styles. Austin Theory became Intercontinental Champion against Kevin Owens. Brock Lesnar beat Lance Archer. We had the video package, and then One Final Beat. One Final Beat, I think, went on to become Match of the Year as well. Ultimately, I think One Final Beat deserves a top spot. I'm going to say just below WrestleMania 1. I've done a great job with only putting 10 shows in Best Show Ever. God, the One Final Beat video package. Man, I think the One Final Beat video package has a lot of views, and it's private. Yeah, One Final Beat video, like the One Final Beat video package, has almost 100 views for some reason, or has 34 views, not 100. It just gets a lot of really good views for some reason. It's such a good show, or a good match. Now we're on to No Surrender. I remember this show so well. God, I love this show. You had Swerve beating Mike Bennett to become X Division champion. You had Motor City beating SCU to retain the tag titles. And then the North reunited. You had Rockstar Spud and Aaron Stevens in that train wreck of a feud. Stevens won because of Tyler Breeze showing up. Alexa Bliss beat Mickie James to retain the Knockouts title. Samoa Joe beat Nick Aldis. Matt Cardona cheated to beat Mustafa Ali with help of Joe Hendry, and that started that story that progressed even more today at Supercard. And then the main event was Jay White and Jeff Hardy, and so many people were dead set. Yeah, Jay White's winning. Jay White's going to be the world champion at the end of the night. And then he didn't. Jay White lost. Jeff Hardy won. I know. I'm so mad. Dango put out a tweet saying he was going to retire soon. That's why I didn't do it. I had to hesitate because I thought Dango was retiring. And so then Swerve comes out and he's like, all right, option C this week. That's going top of pretty good. Like, that's top of pretty good. That's better than Bound for Glory for sure. It's definitely not best of the best. Cyber Sunday. You're going to notice this string of most recent shows is some of my favorites. You had Fight Factory beat Toxic Attraction in a tornado table match. You had Liv Morgan have her closest shot at Rhea Ripley ever. Rhea ended up winning in the end. And that matchup was what made me ultimately decide to send Liv to SmackDown and push her towards the title. You had the Fatal 4-Way kick it off where Seth Rollins escaped Gable, Dragunov, and Steiner in a Fatal 4-Way. I forgot he pinned Steiner in that until the other day. That 4-Way was so good. And everyone got their shit in it as well. That's what I'm so happy about. You had the US 6-pack where Dolph Ziggler won. He beat Brian Cage, Big E, Cedric Alexander, AJ Styles, and Dominic Dijakovic, and then Cedric joined the Hurt Business and Big E got kicked out. You had the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line where Cody beat Roderick Strong. It was the last time we'd seen Strong until this past Friday. Generic Hausen against the Megastars, and I just got to show off the Generic Hausen entrance because it's so funny. Like, it's another one of those things where it's like, this is just a funny moment, so it's got to be seen. The Generic Hausen entrance alone is what made this match worth it. I took time in Adobe Animate to make this. They have a whole entrance video on my computer. I'll show it off before the night's over. Generic Hausen come out, matching capes to boot. And then you got the triple threat steel cage match that Theory kind of slips out of. Cameron Grimes gets his Raw contract finally. Let's see here. Like, Cameron Grimes storms through Boogeyman. He wins. He gets his Raw contract finally. Jinder runs down to try and attack him. And then boom, Cameron Grimes becomes hardcore champion. But then because I can't let anyone have any nice things, Baron Corbin shows up. And Baron Corbin becomes hardcore champion to end the night. And then it goes into that amazing main event where Reigns and Ciampa try to tear each other apart. And Triple H cost Ciampa the title. I think this is another best of the best show. And I think it might go around here. It's not quite Survivor Series level, but it's such a good show. Royal Rumble is next. And Royal Rumble this past season, another great show. You had Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, where Seth beat Cody to keep the world title because Triple H put Mr. Money in the Bank in a title match without the briefcase having to be cashed in. You had Raquel Gonzalez return from injury and win the Women's Rumble. You had John Cena beat Braun Steiner in a hell of a match. You had Io Shirai show that she had what it took to beat Rhea, but could just barely slipped up. I think one mistake cost her, and then ultimately that led to WrestleMania. You had Austin Theory get help from Cody Rhodes to beat Randy Orton, setting in motion what will become the 6. You had Roman Reigns and Stone Cold, and then you had AJ Styles win the Rumble from number 1. I think Rumble 3 is the best one, right? Like, it's the best of the Royal Rumbles. I think so. I don't think it's quite as good as Cyber Sunday, but I think it's up there. Elimination Chamber. In terms of posters, this is the best one. This is one of my favorite favorite posters. Ugh. Elimination Chamber Season 3. You had a number 1 contenders chamber match where Finn Balor would beat Edge, Chad Gable, Braun Steiner, Austin Theory, and Kevin Owens. You had Randy Orton beat Drew McIntyre. You had Dolph Ziggler finally overcome Brian Cage for the first time and retain the U.S. title. You had the Hurt Business beat O-Miz. You had the number 1 contenders tournament final where Liv Morgan beat Becky Lynch. Big E beat MVP in a no-holds-barred match and reformed the New Day. The Elimination Chamber saw the return of Bayley, and it was essentially it was supposed to be originally the Women's Chamber against Rhea, where it ended up being Bayley, Lita, Xia Li, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, and Rhea Ripley. It was originally supposed to be kind of, oh, and it had this is where Doomsday Rollins was as well. I forgot about this. This show originally, the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup was going to be Sasha Banks, Dakota Kai, Piper Niven, Raquel Gonzalez, and Shayna Baszler, the 5 women who had gotten closest to beating Rhea Ripley in the past. Or no. Substitute at Dakota Kai for Liv Morgan. And it was the 5 women who had come closest to beating Rhea Ripley all in one matchup. And then a lot of stuff fell apart, obviously, and we couldn't do that. And Rhea won that. Brock Lesnar and Tommaso Ciampa had their match, 2 of the most destructive forces in LS11 finally meeting. And Lesnar would win that night. And that was victory number 19. Seth Rollins would come out as Doomsday to beat Superman, beating John Cena, retaining the World Heavyweight title. That was where Damian Priest set his sights on ending Cena's career. And then Asuka and Nikki Cross had their Falls Count Anywhere match for the women's title. Nikki Cross won. And Pete Dunne and Nathan Frazier had their Cruiserweight title matchup. And ultimately the main event was Nakamura, LA Knight, Robert Roode, Matt Riddle, Rey Mysterio, and Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. And Roman Reigns would obviously retain, and AJ Styles would leave him laying with the phenomenal forearm, making his WrestleMania choice. I think Elimination Chamber, top of pretty good, bottom of best of the best. I'm going to put it top of pretty good just because I think too many things are making their way into best shows ever. Slammiversary comes next. This is a great one. Slammiversary is very important, and we all know why. You had Jay White beat Johnny Impact in a Bullet Club versus Manic's Mask, where Kento revealed himself to be Manic and joined up with Bullet Club. Aaron Stevens fought an Impact legend for the shot at being GM. It ended up being Kurt Angle, who won and fired him. You had Abyss and Matt Cardona in the Monsters Ball, where the brand endorsers managed to save Cardona again, specifically Hendry. Von Erichs from the IWGP Tag Champions, the Von Erichs, came up short against the North. Alexa Bliss beat Deonna Purrazzo in their rematch. Chris Sabin beat Jonathan Gresham and Ali in a triple threat for the X Division title. FTR debuted and beat OGK. And then you had the world title, and Kenta being Manic was such a nice twist. I thought so. Ray came up with it, and I was like, oh, that's too good not to do it, man. And oh my God, I love the end of Slammiversary. Joe finally does it. He beats Swerve. It's like Joe has done. Pierre, you can see yourself here. Joe has done it. Swerve tried his best, and then suddenly, nobody expected this. Just saying, we did it first. I love just watching as the chat finally, because it's not many people in the chat. It's just Pierre and Zach at this point, because most people had tuned out thinking the show was over. And then I put the distorted, he's got the whole world in his hands in the chat. The fireflies start appearing. I was so proud of all of this. And I think Cult of Wyndham was originally supposed to be the debut of Wyndham, Cross, and Scarlett. Yeah. Cult of WWE, huh? Uh-oh. You can see Zach just like, what? And I will show off. I'm finally going to show off the original Cult of Wyndham footage tonight. Slammiversary. I sound like a broken record. It's going in the best. It's going just above Cyber Sunday. I am going to bump some stuff down into pretty good, I think. Like, I'm going to bump some stuff down just to kind of even it out a little bit, because we're coming up on the end here. We're finally in the home stretch at 2.5 hours. Double or nothing. The original footage. I'll be showing the original footage where Cross debuted with Wyndham tonight. Because it was taped. It was commentated. We redid the commentary with Wyndham showing up on his own the night before Slammiversary. Ray just happened to be here when Cross debuted in WWE again. So, double or nothing. We had the Women's Casino Battle Royal where Toni Storm would debut. We had the Blackjack Brawl with Danielson, Hangman, Scorpio, Ricky Starks, Sammy Guevara, and the Ace, which was really Zack Sabre Jr. And ultimately, Hangman would win that one. We had Miro and Keith Lee in the Haas fight where Keith would win. We had the TNT title versus Career where Jericho was shockingly retired. Moxley and Callahan's Lights Out match where Mox won. Wardlow crushing MJF. Tony Storm beating Jade Cargill to become TBS champion. Buddy Matthews coming up short in a matter of 6 minutes to Malachi Black in their third matchup. Nixon Newell beating Britt Baker to become women's champion. And now Tegan's apparently on her way back to WWE. So whatever that's about. Tag team championship ladder match. Free Dragon, Kings of Wrestling, Young Bucks, and FTR, where FTR retained. Punk and Omega in the match of the year for AEW Universe, where Punk ended up losing to Omega. And then Darby Allin beat Johnny Gargano in the main event. All in all, I know it's like AEW's WrestleMania, but I'm going to say it's a pretty good show. I'm going to say probably around like here. Not the best thing we've ever done. Like far from it. And I hate to say it, but AEW Universe, much like AEW in real life, started up here and has kind of gone like down to here. Like this is rock bottom down here. We started sky high. We're getting dangerously close to like mild. So now we're coming up to the final shows. WrestleMania Season 3. WrestleMania Season 3. Episode 99 of 2K22. Braun Steiner did Steiner math and then became the Intercontinental Champion against Chad Gable and Austin Theory. Liv Morgan finally became champion against Nikki Cross. Edge beat Kevin Owens in the Falls Count Anywhere matchup. Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans became women's tag team champions, and I told everyone, trust me, and it paid off with the 6. Walter destroyed Brock Lesnar in the Haas fight. Randy Orton lost to Cody Rhodes when Cody debuted the pedigree. Dolph Ziggler retained the U.S. title against Robert Roode, becoming the only mid-card champion to retain at WrestleMania thus far. New Day fully reunited, beat the Hurt Business. We had the Cruiserweight ladder match that was Rey Mysterio, Pete Dunne, Ilya Dragunov, Wes Lee, Noam Dar. I've got 5 of them. I know I can get the others. Santos Escobar. If I have to look it up, I have to look it up. I'll suck it up. Ricochet and shit. I was so close. I gotta look it up. Who was it? I hate that I don't remember it either. I'm so mad that I don't. Cruiserweight title. I said Dragunov. Dragunov was one of the first ones I said. Cedric Alexander. That's who it was. It was Cedric Alexander. Swanton Sears, welcome to the show. I'm doing pretty good tonight. We're ranking all the LS11 pay-per-views right now. So Rey Mysterio would become Cruiserweight Championship in that ladder matchup. Would become the Cruiserweight Champion in that ladder match. Seth Rollins would beat Finn Balor to retain the world title. Triple H would have his only LS11 match and lose to Tommaso Ciampa. Io Shirai ended the 477-day reign of Rhea Ripley. I'm still sad that I couldn't get her to 500. I should have never had Bayley cash in on her. She would have been well over 500 at that point. We had Damian Priest versus John Cena with Cena's career on the line. Cena won, LOL. The WrestleMania announcement with The Rock attacking Logan Paul, and Jey Uso acknowledged The Rock, called The Rock Big Chief on that night. Gotta wonder how that'll pay off when Roman's eventually back. And then the main event where AJ Styles beat Roman Reigns to become champion. You also can't forget, there were a lot of segments through this night. This was the closest to a real wrestling show we've ever put on, and I think it probably takes the cake as the top show we've ever done. If we were grading things based on posters, though, Payback would be the best one ever. Greg Tree talks about it. Greg Tree talked to me about it one day on Twitter. Pretty much the closest to an interaction we've had in a while was him saying it was the best poster I've ever done. But Payback this season, oh boy. Oh boy. We had John Cena, Edge, Bobby Lashley, and AJ Styles for the WWE title. AJ would win that with Ciampa attacking Cena. We had Liv Morgan beat Nikki Cross in their rematch. The Way beat the A-List Effect. Drew McIntyre beat Dolph Ziggler to become U.S. champion. The 6 beat Blissful Grace to keep the women's tag titles, and Alexa Bliss would say she was going to keep the Impact title for herself. Jey Uso beat Solo Sikoa. Rey Mysterio beat Carmelo Hayes and then was attacked by Dominic. The 6 beat Mustache Mountain to become tag team champions. Braun Steiner beat Ilya Dragunov to retain the IC title. Becky Lynch beat Rhea Ripley in the No Holds Barred Falls Count Anywhere, which is the only time Rhea's been beat in a one-on-one matchup since season 2. The triple threat was not a one-on-one match, so that's why I say that. And then Cody beat Randy Orton to banish him to Raw. All in all, I'm not going to say it's like a best show ever, but I put it at top of pretty good. And Rebellion, for those curious, I'd put Rebellion kind of middle of pretty good. I didn't put it on here. I forgot about it. So Rebellion's middle of pretty good. And we're down to the final 2. No Mercy. We're in the home stretch now, folks. I want to thank Pierre specifically for sticking through here and talking with me the whole time. We're at No Mercy. You had Tyler Bate challenge Cody Rhodes. And the idea there was that nobody thought Tyler Bate was winning. But the idea was to make you believe that Tyler Bate could be a champion one day. And I think we did that. Cody Rhodes would win. Liv beat Bianca Belair to retain the women's title, and Alexa Bliss would show up afterwards. New Day beat the D'Angelo family to keep the tag titles, and Judgment Day would show up afterwards. A lot of people were still really interested by the LS11 Judgment Day, and it's really cool that we're only 7 days removed from this event. Like 7 days exactly right now, like even down to the exact time of day as to when the show went off the air. And you know, a lot of people still intrigued by the LS11 Judgment Day. I'm pretty excited for you guys to see what they've got in store. You had Tommaso Ciampa cheat to beat John Cena. You had Braun Steiner and Braun Strowman in what honestly might have been my favorite match of the show. Jey Uso and Jacob Fatu in a very emotional matchup there, where Jacob Fatu obviously won. Johnny Gargano beat Rampage to banish him from WWE. Shed a tear for the Way. Pour one out for the Way 2.0. Rey Mysterio, why cheats and steals to beat Dominic. Io Shirai slips away with a win over Becky Lynch after Io tapped on the outside. You had Walter and Lashley in the Ultimate Hoss fight where Lashley ended up losing and Walter is now #1 contender. Maybe, there's a reason we've known about Walter and Styles since that matchup. I haven't revealed that graphic yet for a reason. Let's just say that. And then you had the U.S. title match where McIntyre beat Riddle, and then the main event with Pete Dunne and AJ Styles. And of course, because I'm so mad, I'm so fucking mad about WWE copyrighting the title animation, because you can see chat replay got disabled from the premiere because of it. The chat went fucking ballistic here because we pulled this off like 3 months apart. We did this twice and it got a bigger pop the second time. Like, we do this twice and the second time more people freak out about it. And then this show goes down for a day and a half because at 1 in the fucking morning, WWE is like, oh, that animation of that belt that's in the game? Oh, you stole that footage from the Royal Rumble 2019. Huh? Again, I want to repeat, I thought Cross was going to be behind AJ. I know a lot of people thought Cross was coming back at the end of the show. Cross has not come back for a reason, and you will see soon. And then, of course, the show ends with Bray Wyatt. And I even put in the chat, he can't keep getting away with this. Oh, No Mercy was such a good show. I'm going to say just above Payback. And then finally, Super Card of Honor today. I don't feel like I need to do a full recap of that one since it was earlier today, but we'll talk about it just real quick. I mean, you had Bryan Danielson beat Dragon Lee, Powerhouse beat Hendry. We're continuing the dissension between Hendry and Cardona. Samoa Joe beat Colt Cabana. Allison Kay beat Willow Nightingale. Blake Christian beat Bobby Fish. Briscoes beat Kings of Wrestling. Then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens showed up, which I know shocked all of you. And then Dalton Castle beat Rouge to become champion. Overall, pretty good show. I'm not going to say it blows anything out of the water. I'll say probably right here. Middle of pretty good, I'd say. There you go. I finally did it. I've been asked for over a year to do a pay-per-view tier list by Mata, and I finally did it. So there you go. Let's save that real quick. Download that to my computer. Oh, I'm not a fan of it showing all my files. Hang on. There. Okay. Like I said, not a fan of it showing off my files there. I was not okay with that. So let's do it. The world premiere of the original Impact debut of Wyndham Rotunda. Let me see if I can find it, because I know I have it. Okay, I do have it. So, let's do this. This is the first time I'm ever sharing this. LS11 Universe in Zander. The original version. We've heard back what he believes he should have had long ago. But then Swerve fought back, and in Joe's eyes, that was a sin unforgivable. Your winner and the
really cool looking back.
Impact World Champion, Samoa Joe. Thank you all for watching Slammiversary. Until next time, I bet. What the? Oh my god! Oh my god! That's Killer Cross.
Oh my God, Zander!
Joe staring a hole through Killer Cross, and they're scoring with a cross with a knee. We haven't seen Killer Cross in nearly a year.
Killer Cross is back!
Cross locks the cross jacket in, choking Samoa Joe out. Cross putting the new Impact World Champion to sleep. Funny things Triple H changed, huh? Yup. Got that right. A chill just ran through the spine. Everyone in this. Oh my god! He's here!
Oh my God,
I've just seen
Zander.
the Wyndham Rotunda! It's Wyndham! We haven't seen Wyndham in a year!
Oh my God.
Oh my god, the prodigal son of wrestling has returned!
It was such a good choice of a theme. That was a Ray choice as well. He was just going to use Live in Fear when it was me booking it.
All that remains.
We had a great main event match. But now everything's focused on Wyndham Rotunda.
Wyndham scaring a hole through Killer Cross. There's one thing that's always been a question about Wyndham. Is he a friend or a foe tonight? Wyndham slowly marching his way to the ring. The fireflies in full effect. This crowd, I don't think they quite believe
Yeah,
what they're
Hanzo, what you're
seeing.
showing here is the original footage.
I never thought we'd see this man in
LS11
wrestling.
Impact debut. And I don't know if you saw the opening part of it. Well, you're about to see what was really different about when he arrived.
Wyndham Rotunda keeping his eyes locked on Killer Cross.
I'm still surprised we got away with using
Her rumblings that we've heard
Especially when
rumors
this
that
comes.
something big was coming to
I mean, it's a
Slammiversary, and
cover.
Wyndham's here. It feels like we're looking at a ghost.
The lantern is back. Ladies and gentlemen, the Fireflies have returned.
Wyndham is here. He restores the light to the arena and he stares a hole through Killer Cross. Oh my god, Wyndham just said get him up. Wyndham just told Cross to get him up. Wyndham! Wyndham! Plants him!
Oh my god.
Wyndham tells Cross, leave him for me. Cross and Scarlett exit the ring. We haven't seen this in a year. Wyndham! Wyndham!
Wyndham. Oh my god, what's he going to do?
Crawling towards Joe. We haven't... Everything... This is... Things we haven't seen in a year. It's even freakier now that it's been so long.
Waiting for Joe to wake up, and he does. Oh my god, he's whispering something to Joe. Oh! He just whispered Kendall's kiss.
And so that was
Joe's
ultimately
ear.
Ray's choice to call that. I wanted to just keep calling it his sister Abigail.
Wyndham
Kendall's the name of
has
Wyndham's
arrived.
daughter, is why Ray.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching Impact tonight. What a Slammiversary it's been. Join us in 5 nights on Impact again. Wyndham Rotunda speaks for the first time in a year. Until then, I've been Zander.
I've been Ray.
And that was Universe.
So yeah, there you go. That was the original ending to Slammiversary. It was going to be Cross and Scarlett were with Wyndham, the Cult of Wyndham, as it would have been called. And then Cross returned to WWE, and we recorded it literally the night before it aired to just be Wyndham. And Ray and I had to scramble to put it together at 11 o'clock at night, pulled Slammiversary down, put it right back up. Had I not mentioned anything, I don't know if anyone would have noticed. And now, with the exception of Samoa Joe, everyone in that segment is back in WWE. So you win some, you lose some, I suppose. But don't know if anyone knows this, but last night on SmackDown, a QR code appeared that when you scan it for Bray, it plays a Nirvana song. So Bray Wyatt and Nirvana just want to say,
Now, I'm not saying you owe me royalties for this clearly incredibly amazing idea that I came up with and you stole from me. I'm just saying maybe there should be a check in the mail first of every month. Yeah, I guess that's royalties. I guess that's what I'm asking for.
that clip's never going to get old. My white balance is really off suddenly. Like, it has been all day. I look really tan, or like I'm very, I don't know what the exact way to put it is, but my camera is not having a good time white balanced right now. Can I use anything to white balance it? I'm curious. I've got my old notepad here, the one I used for Universe. Let's see if like doing this might white balance it. Yeah, that did it for a second. That white balances it for a second. That's weird. It's really weird. Huh. I don't know. I can mess with that at some point. Maybe it's detecting like the yellow of the Zander Mania shirt as white and is trying to white balance based on that. I don't know. I'm not going to focus on that though. Yeah. So any other questions? Because we're coming up on like the 3-hour mark here. So if anyone's got any more questions, I'm gonna end the stream off here pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, it's been 3 incredible years on this channel. It's really weird that 3 years later we're still doing this. 3 years later, I've stuck with it this long. Ray's stuck by my side this long. Next year we'll officially overtake the. Next year, we're going to officially overtake the original series. The original series started in mid-2014 and ended at the beginning of 2018. So it's strange. Oh, right. Yeah. Thank you, Blaze Web. I'd almost forgotten about that. Would you have renamed the Fiend if Wyndham was still in Impact? No, it would have been the Fiend. It would have been the Fiend. And we were considering at one point doing like a Moon Knight style thing with him where I don't know how many people watched Moon Knight or read the comics. Essentially, it's going to be like and now he's suddenly a different person. He blacks out and someone else takes over. It was going to be Wyndham, Funhouse, and the Fiend. And so since Blazewolf has kindly reminded me of this, let's test this out. Let me open up Steam and open up the game. And we're going to have to be very careful here. Like, we're going to need to be super duper careful because we are about to run the risk of some copyright sounds. Let's see. Is this screen 1? No, that is screen 1. Screen 2. Okay. Gaining on StreamYard. Have never done this before. Any exciting leaks you can say for future universe mode stuff? I mean, all I can say, and I've mentioned this a couple times, is, we've known that AJ versus Valter is happening at Money in the Bank since No Mercy, but I've not dropped the match graphic yet, and it's almost like there's going to be some people on that graphic not making the match a multi-person match, but perhaps there are a couple people there to even the odds against Imperium. And let's see if I can kind of leak anything else. I'm thinking. Hold on, let me find my other cable as well. I have a bad feeling this is going to be super freaking loud. So we got Roman's theme playing on the title screen. Also, welcome to Modded 2K22, by the way. This is the stuff you guys don't see, now that I think about it. And this is actually only recorded through... I'm actually only recorded through Monday's Raw, so nothing should be spoiled on here, I don't think. And if it does, then this is our little secret. We'll play a game called Don't Tell Ray. Is the game drowning me out, by the way, anyone? Can anyone let me know on that one? So let's see here. Let's test out the fighting stance thing. And we'll just use a couple of people I have modded attires for so I can show off what I mean. And yeah, so like some people might wonder what kind of mods I have. Like you can see here, that's not Brian Kendrick. His name is Adam Cole in the game. If I play as him, that will be Adam Cole. Let's see. Who else do I have mods for? Got a different render for Theory in there. A Kid's called Axiom. This is kind of fun to show this off real quick. Let's see. We'll use my guy Triple H because we all know he's my favorite. And who do I have a mod for that will work? Oh, well, a little bit of spoilers here, I guess. And because the thing is, like, you guys see these mods all the time anyway. I've actually got a cool mod for Ali on here. So we'll use Samoa Joe and Mustafa Ali because they both have modded attires. And we'll just throw it on a random arena. I know there's Adam Cole PNGs. Yeah, there are, but for some reason, modding them in just doesn't work. And we'll just use Raw 2021. That's fine. But trying to mod the PNGs in doesn't work on certain slots. So what it is like you have to go into these slots and you have to mod. And the Adam Cole mod is by default replacing Tommaso Ciampa. And so his render would replace Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I kind of use Tommaso Ciampa a lot. Kind of use him a lot. Let's see here. I'm really excited for you guys to see this Ali mod that I've got because it's really cool looking. I haven't used it before. Because there was going to be a point where there was going to be a point where Impact was on PC as well. So, and it was on PC for about 2 weeks, I believe. So, like, Joe's going to have the Impact title in hand in a second here. So you can see here, here's the Joe model we were using today, the modded version. So there's Joe. I've also got 60 FPS enabled, so that will start being a thing as of Dynamite this week. When it goes like into the cinematic angles, like for finishers and stuff. But yeah, look at this Ali mod, man. It's his Hell in a Cell attire. I remember watching Hell in a Cell this year. I was in Puerto Rico when it aired. All right. Blaze Wave, moment of truth. So click in the left stick. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's game changing. It works. It does work. My God, it works. So I just kind of want to. Could have been such a time. It is going to be a time saver. It's going to be a massive time saver in the end. I'm trying to think of what I can share here. So just so you guys can kind of see here, this is not Booker T when I play it. This isn't Concert for Aliens. This is not Heartless. And this is not Hollywood Sucks. And also an odd question, why doesn't everybody have street clothes attires? So if that's a question of like, why don't I give them street clothes attires? Sometimes it's that I don't want to. If it's why isn't in the game, that's a great question as well. So like some characters I've given street clothes attire that you've seen, like Seth Rollins has his. Let's see if I can, I don't know if it'll show it or not, but like Seth Rollins has got his when I go to this one. Yeah, he's got his leather jacket and his knee brace. But like the reason he doesn't, like, for example, Johnny Gargano had it for a long time, but then he stopped, and that's because I've recently started using a mod for Gargano instead of a full-blown just in-game model. I'm gonna stop the screen at this point. Instead of a full-blown just attire, because my game loads faster with mods instead of custom attires. And if I just hold this up, is it going to white balance? Like, because this is bothering me so much. Okay. I hate that I've got to do this, but this is going to help with the white balance a little bit. Because now I look normal, and I don't look like I'm in just some weird yellow world. I don't know why my camera's doing that. Yeah, guys like Cole, Ciampa, Kenny, etc. Yeah, I mean that's a great question, you know. Some guys I could give street clothes attires, and a lot of times I'd like to. I try to do it when it crosses my mind. Like you'll probably see Tommaso Ciampa soon wearing street clothes on an episode of Raw. Seth Rollins is going to wear them until he's back from injury and stuff like that. I try to do it. It's just a matter of, you know, it's time consuming. You only have so many slots in the game, and you don't want to dedicate them all to that. If I were just using characters that were in the game, it would be different. But it's just kind of one of those things. I'm trying to figure out if I can share anything here. Like, I'm trying to figure out if there's anything I can announce tonight as like a 3-year anniversary or anything. I mean, for those that didn't see the announcement in Discord, I did, or didn't watch Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, I did announce that on January 1st, we will be bringing you LS11 Universe, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, main evented by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Briscoes for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. That's a huge announcement I can make there. Shamrock can keep his camo pants and knee brace. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, other than that, we're coming up with the 3-hour mark. Unless anyone's got any last burning questions for me, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna go do some drawings or stuff. I'm just gonna pretend I'm not a YouTuber for the rest of the night. So we'll give everybody a minute here. It's gonna be a banger match. It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited for it. And guys, we are 5 subs away from hitting 2,100, which is insane. We will probably be there by the end of the day tomorrow, is my guess. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe Monday, because we got to have some videos come out for that. But you never know. You never know. Also, you know what? I'm going to throw this up here just because it's funny. Not Supercard of Honor. Bound for Glory is a while away. Like Bound for Glory, long time away in LS11. It's not until February 25th, 2023, not 2022, by the way. Just completely fucked that up on my part. But call your shot. Gauntlet's coming back. Oh boy, here we go. Lots of silhouettes on there. It's going to be fun. All right. I think that's going to do it. Guys, I've been watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I never watched that, you know. I've never the only Star Wars TV show I've watched is Kenobi, and that's because he's my favorite character. But I think that's going to do it, everyone. So I just want to say one more time, you know, thank you for 3 incredible years so far. There's plenty more coming up. We're not slowing down anytime soon. We're picking up the pace. You know, Monday we got Raw. Tuesday we got Dynamite. Wednesday will be the final Rampage. Thursday we got Impact. Friday we got SmackDown. Saturday we've got what's it called? We've got LSWF Kickoff, and we've got the Crown Jewel watch along probably. Probably, I don't know. Most likely. 4. So like we're not slowing down anytime soon. Just kind of looking over at my calendar. The only weekend I'm taking off in November is my fiance's birthday because I promised her I wouldn't stream on her birthday. And you know what they say, happy wife, happy life. So with all that said, everybody, thanks so much for chilling out with me for the past 3 hours. 3 hours for the 3-year anniversary, I guess is the best way to put it. And well, I guess if I have it, Hanzo, this one's for you.
Know who we need? We need Zander Mania.
What? Hey, LS11 Universe, it's Ray, and for the first time ever, Zander is late to a live stream. Weird, right? It's just... But he'll be here eventually, we promise. But this is but we want to start this off by thanking you for 500 subscribers. And it's clear by our estimates that we're going to be big YouTube stars any day now. So I've suggested to Zander that we go ahead and get ahead of the curve and launch a rap career. So that's our announcement. We're here to launch a hip-hop career starring me and Zander. So we haven't figured out a name yet, but, you know, we will. So, yeah, that's my announcement. We're waiting for Zander, and we are about to launch our hip-hop career. Let's get it going.
Oh, hey, man.
Nice of you to show up.
Hey, look, I'm sorry I was late. I just got caught up watching a Pirates of the Caribbean marathon. Have you seen those things?
Yeah, those are pretty great. Yeah.
Well, look, I read your proposal for the hip-hop group, and I loved it. And look, I've got our first track ready, and I wrote you this big, sexy hook, and I think you're going to really dig it.
Great. Do you want to go ahead and lay it down?
Yeah. Ray, let's get to it.
we go. LS11, Zander, Ray Wood. The night starts now. Together on track. The boys are back. And the night starts. Night starts now, baby. Roll with us. Cheese snapping at the neck when we rolling up. Club front doors ain't no holding up. Black card at the bar, like I gives a fuck. Ladies shift the eyes when you walk into the set. Fuck the fellas looking jealous, play it back and get wet. Away, shaking my sock. You either get cut, get stuffed, or get shot.
This is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow, pirate so brave on the 7 seas. Mystical quest to the Isle of Tortuga, Raven like sway on the ocean's breeze.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, but we back in the club, buying at the boss of the groupie showing up. Motherfucking Iceman, I'm the top gunner. Heater on blast, I'm the #1 stunner.
Jack Sparrow.
Don't you go because I ain't your Mr. Nice Guy. More like to meet you, take you home twice, guy. All girl dressed up, wearing no to
now back
That's
to the
how I
good
know I'm
fucking
crazy
day
when
he was born. He yearned for adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, Captain Jack, giving them what's for. He's the popper of the surf, the jester of Tortuga, but David Jones' locker, what lies in store?
Yeah, we've seen the movie. Hands in the air and say hell yeah. Come on.
Captain Jack, Johnny Depp.
No. Wrong.
David Jones, giant squid.
Nope. Zander, we're really gonna need you to focus
Roger
up.
that, let me try it with another
Wait.
film. Life is a box of chocolates, and my name is Forrest Gump.
Come on.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed. I give Jenny all my love. Okay, then I'm just a farm, but Luke Skywalker is my name.
Oh, God.
You can call me Arnie, cause I'm here to protect John.
Close enough.
Stay behind me. I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
This is the tale of the T-800, sent back in time to protect young John. Body of steel, heart made of gold. They'll make lots of noise. Say hasta la vista. Hasta
Okay,
la
guys,
vista.
turns out Xander's been watching a lot of movies lately.
You complete me.
Yeah. Okay. Buddy, I think we should just stick with the YouTube thing.
But wait, what if we?
No. We're staying with the wrestling thing.
But what was it? Was it the number of costume changes we did?
Zander, I'm gonna be honest. The only thing I can do here is walk away from this.
Oh.
Bye, Zander.
Oh, okay. Cornold? You liked it, right, Cornold?
I'm gonna be honest. You might just want to stick with the YouTube thing.
Ray straight up crashed out of the StreamYard. Ray just straight up crashed from the stream. Oh my god. I don't want to talk about how much money I spent to make that video. All right, everybody. Thank you for 3 years. I've been Xander, and that was a live stream. Good night, everyone.